True Believers. Drew here for another episode of the MCU Lookback. And we got episode 8, phase 3, part 4, the second to last episode of season 1. And then we're taking a break.
This is all one season? How is this all one season?
Because this is the Affinity era.
I guess.
Oh my goodness. I would have broken it up by phases.
It's like season that's been going for over 2 years.
Yeah, we started this like a year and a half ago at least.
Well, let me do it the way I want to do it.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm just apologizing to the people out there listening.
Yeah. We're 1 minute into this podcast. We're already arguing. So
right. But with me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Eric White.
Hey everyone.
And
happy to be here.
Jackson Harbor, because he didn't want me to call him after Jackson anymore.
Oh, it's the weirdest thing. I started a new job this past week, and one of my coworkers, like the first time I met them, I told them my name, and they were like, "Oh, Action Jackson," and I was like, "No, we are not doing this.
Stop this right now.
Nip this in the bud."
I got a friend named Drew who on the podcast.
I actually did tell him about, or tell her about you.
Oh yeah, thank you for stroking my ego, Jackson. Because I constantly need stroking.
Okay.
Don't think about that too much.
I won't.
But anyway, the three movies that we're covering today are Avengers: Infinity War. We finally got there. Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel. But before we get there, we got some housekeeping to get to. And first up,
housekeeping.
You want me fluff pillow?
It's from Home Alone 2.
Oh,
Tim Curry. He comes to the door and he goes, "Housekeeping."
Is that on the freaking Swedish South Muppets?
Well, he does like a weird voice there. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next couple episodes of the show is going to be Independence Day, which will hopefully be posted on the 4th of July, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it's 50 years old, and it's one of Jackson's favorite horror movies.
It really is. It's amazing.
Yeah, so we gotta review those.
We also we need to record a new episode of Extreme Horror.
Oh,
yes.
So hopefully have that out by the end of the month. So
check the Antichrist episode out, because that was actually really good. It actually sounded really interesting. I'll probably never watch the movie, but like your description.
No, you don't have to. We basically described the entire movie.
Yeah, we told you everything.
Out of order, but
yeah.
You know, all the same.
So there's housekeeping, and we got a couple Marvel adjacent stuff to get to, because the first thing is, since the last episode of MCU Lookback, we got a new trailer for Deadpool and the Wolverine. And did any of you guys watch it?
I watched it, but I don't have any like profound thoughts about it.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. I'm like apprehensive about it. I like the Deadpool movies, but I may have only seen them once. You know what I mean? Like a piece. It's not like a movie I keep going back to, and I feel like I think it'll be okay, but I don't know. Marvel's kind of burned me for a while. Yeah. Although I did watch the Marvels recently. It was pretty good.
I enjoyed that one. Yeah, it's fun.
So unlike you two heathens, I am beside myself for this movie. I am really excited for this movie.
Yeah, but you're always excited for whatever the new movie is.
Yeah. Well, I like Marvel.
I'm excited you're excited.
This one I'm especially excited for, because I think it's going to be the mega break for the rest of the MCU, I feel like.
See, that to me is not a reason to be excited. That is a reason to be apprehensive.
That's one of the reasons. Stop fucking up this episode. That's great.
I will say
that's my role on this show.
I will say that the unrated trailer, like the R-rated trailer, is better than the edited trailer. The edited trailer I saw in theater. Well, I saw it in theaters, and it was in front of like Planet of the Apes, and I was just like, this looks bad. And then I watched the unrated trailer, and I was like, okay, I get it. They just cut a lot of the jokes that they don't make sense without the cursing in it.
There was
like,
one
it's weird.
Joke I thought was funnier in their Green Band, and was the one where they're like in the restaurant, and Deadpool was like, I really need your help. And then the red band one, Wolverine just goes, go after yourself. But in the
Mhm.
green band one, he says, do you mind putting on your mask? And he's like, no, it would be really uncomfortable to eat. Trust me, it's really uncomfortable looking at you without the mask.
Mhm.
I thought that was fun. It was just more clever instead of Wolverine saying "Go fuck yourself," which is funny enough.
Right.
But that's the one thing I'm looking forward to is I feel like Jackman's gonna be like even more of a dick as Wolverine in this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Right.
he's got a license to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's like
So.
alternate universe
Mhm.
Wolverine. I think they've played that up now, at least in the trailers, where like
Yeah.
he comes from another dimension where he's failed his people but
Mhm.
saved them. I don't know. It gets confusing in the trailers right now. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
I mean, it's X-Men continuity. Who knows?
I can't believe I'm the
That's fair.
only
That's fair.
person here that's excited for this movie.
I mean,
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm gonna see it, but I don't have my hopes real high for it.
Mm.
I do.
So
Get out, get the help for something.
okay, that means if it's good, then I will be elated that it's good.
Over
If
the
it's
moon, yeah.
bad, you will be very disappointed.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But
be
if it's
pissed off at
bad,
you
I'm
guys.
not going to be disappointed because I'm not expecting that much.
You'll just be like, oh well.
But yeah, I'm really excited. And then I like seeing on the stuff in the background, like you got like Lady Deathstrike from X2 in there. Apparently, you got the Russian dude from the Thomas Jane Punisher movie.
Okay.
Whoa, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in there somewhere. Um, I'm just gonna make a prediction. I think a lot of the Fox X-Men people are gonna show up. Deadpool's gonna kill every single one of them.
I mean, isn't it confirmed that Jennifer Garner is playing Elektra?
I think so, but I'm saying like
Mm.
freaking
So
like Halle Berry, Storm, dead. James Marsden, Cyclops, dead.
Oh,
Um,
but you think
Alan Cumming,
Deadpool's gonna kill them, or they're just dead in the
no,
universe?
he's gonna kill them, and it's gonna reset
Oh,
the X Men thing. Like we're
I
gonna
I
can't
do
tell if
like
you're joking. I can't tell if you're joking.
no,
I
I'm
do
not
like the
joking.
the
I'm not
giant
joking.
Ant-Man corpse. That's fun.
Yeah,
That's fun. I like that.
Which I know that's from an actual comic. That's from like Old Man Logan
yeah, I
comic.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think in that comic, like different parts of the U.S. are like sectioned off to like we're different.
Yeah, but a lot of the Marvel
Yeah.
characters are dead in that one. He's like
Mhm.
the last survivor or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited for this movie. I think it's my second most anticipated movie of the year, next to Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love that popcorn bucket. That is just on brand.
Of
It's
course.
pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I don't know if any of you watched the new X-Men '97 series on
I
Disney
haven't.
Plus.
I have not.
You
I've heard
haven't?
good things though.
I finally watched this series. Well, actually, I tried to watch the original. I got a few episodes in, and then I took a huge break, and then went back to it.
Sure.
Clicked on the episode that I need to watch again, and it went to a different episode, and I can never fix it. So I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
I guess I'm not gonna finish this then. But then I'm
Oh
like,
well.
I'm hearing so many good things about this new one or the continuation of it. I'm just gonna watch it, and if I ever get confused, then I'll just won't watch it. I'll try to
Sure.
figure out a way to watch the old one. With that being said, I really love this new continuation of it. I thought it was really good.
Cool.
For something that takes place in like the '90s, like it is very relevant today.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many lines in there that really hit hard. Um, And there's even a moment in like I think like episode 5 or 6 where something very dramatic happens, and then it cuts to black, and the character says
Mhm.
something, and it echoed something that happened like recently or somewhat
Mhm.
recently, and it was very haunting.
Mhm.
Um, um, as you know, probably watching the trailers or hearing some stuff, Magneto or Professor X is dead.
Mhm.
Spoilers.
Well, he died. I think he died in the original.
He died at the end of the last one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
original
And then
series.
Magneto comes in and to be the head of the X-Men, and he basically gets called into court for this reason because they think he had like malicious plans for the world and humans and all that stuff, and he
Mhm.
basically defending himself. And one of the lines he says was when I was a kid, my family got pulled out of their villas because they dared to call God by a different name, referring to
Mm.
his Jewish background and him
Mhm.
Mhm.
going to the Holocaust. And that really got me. Is like, wow, just because you have a different religious belief, like you're gonna get sent away to this place, this horrible place,
Mhm.
where you're probably gonna die and never see your family or never feed your family again. It's just horrible to think about that.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the best part about the X-Men is that
Mm.
they are. I mean, the whole thing is just based on is allegorical. So like you can sort of like put any sort of
Yeah.
like outsider,
Mhm.
you know, backstory onto it. Whether it be LGBTQ or
Mm.
even the characters who are Jewish in the show. Like it's a fertile ground to like imply bigger political implications without having to actually say them, or
Yeah.
sometimes just say them. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that's what X-Men was about. It came out during a time where black people were fighting for their rights, women were fighting for their
Mhm.
rights,
Mhm.
and the mutants were basically trying to fight like the system and basically tell people like, hey, like even though we got these powers and we're different from you, we're kind of really not different. Like we're human beings. We like to watch TV and go to
Mm.
the movies and we have the same restaurants as you do and and all that stuff. Like just because we have power doesn't mean like we're entirely different from you. You know what I mean? We have thoughts and feelings too. And that's still things that we're dealing with today. And it's really sad that we're still having to have this conversation.
I
No,
will
for sure.
say though, the whole metaphor aspect of the X-Men does fall apart a little bit when you take into account that some of them have extremely dangerous powers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you can't really reconcile that with the plight of actual oppressed people in the real world.
Yeah,
No, that's true.
but I just meant like in general. In
I
general.
understand the in general, but that's the one thing about the
Mm,
X-Men like allegory element that
yeah.
has always just bothered me just a little bit is like,
Mhm.
you know, your regular person,
Mm,
like whether they be LGBTQ or a minority ethnicity or whatever, like they can't flick a cigarette lighter and cause a giant fireball to like consume everything around them.
right, and that's a
Mhm.
very good
They
point.
can't walk through a wall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I do want to kind of bank
It
on
works
that.
on a very surface level.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do want to bank on that, on what you just said, Jackson, because I just watched the making of documentary on Disney Plus about this new series, and they were talking about the old series.
Uh-huh.
And they got one of the creators of the old series to come in to be a consultant.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he
Mhm.
basically said one of the things that are interesting about X-Men in general is, readers of it would be like, hey, I think it'd be cool to have these powers. But what they don't realize is the actual characters themselves feel cursed by their powers. So,
Right.
like, Rogue
Mhm.
can't have any physical intimacy.
Yeah, her power sucks.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was fun for me. If I was
It's like the worst power.
yeah, but because
Right.
well,
And
some
people just
people
end up
some people it wouldn't bother them. Some people don't like to be touched. So
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd
yeah.
be great for them, but
Well, I have the biggest crush on Rogue, so that would just suck for me.
oh yeah, I love Rogue. She's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, Rogue's awesome. Um,
But yeah, I would not want that power.
yeah, and
No.
then Wolverine, like you can never die, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much like a lot of it just kind of sucks for them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say like definitely check it out. You don't really have to watch the old series. You just have to have a basic knowledge of the
Mhm.
X-Men, and you have to know what a Sentinel is,
Yeah.
You kind of have
Sure.
to know a little bit that Dark Phoenix was a thing, like a big deal
Mm-hmm.
in the X-Men mythos. You don't know how they
Yeah.
you have to know.
I mean, that was a big plot point in like the original TV shows. There was
Yeah.
a 4 or 5 episode like arc for Dark Phoenix.
Right, but
with
you
all
don't
that
have to
stuff.
know all the various ins and outs of it. You just gotta know that like
It
Jean
exists.
got all
Yeah.
got real, like her power got real power. She got real powerful and then kind of lost control over it. I believe.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing you need to know going into this new iteration or this continuation of it. You really don't have to watch the original if you don't have a lot of time or just don't feel like it.
That's fair. And that's good because I feel like a lot of Marvel stuff, especially in Phase 4, is like you can't really enjoy all of it unless you really enjoyed it unless you've seen all of it.
Well, that's how
so that
comics
included
are
a lot of
all
the
the
TV
time.
shows. Yeah, but I don't know. Sometimes I just want to see a movie and not have to worry about a character that died, on a TV show that I don't subscribe to. You know what I mean? Like it's nice being able to jump into something and then understand it.
Yeah,
Which
I don't know.
It's probably a good segue into the first movie we have to cover tonight, because talk about a movie that's not going to make any sense unless you've seen all the other movies.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready to get into the Infinity War?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's jump right in.
Plot summary for Avengers Infinity War. According to IMDb, the Avengers and their allies must be willing to sacrifice all in an attempt to defeat the powerful Thanos before his blitz of destruction and ruin puts an end to the universe.
Bum, bum, bum.
In time, you will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it. Run from it. Destiny still arrives.
Evacuate the city. Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
All right, so let's go around the room and talk about or give our quick thoughts before we get into the deep dive. And I'll start with you, Jackson.
It's the thing is, it's like, what can you actually say about this movie that hasn't already been said in the past 6 years? Everyone has had a take on it because it's, it's one of the biggest pop culture. It's maybe the biggest pop culture event of our lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I mean, our parents, they had Star Wars. We had the MCU, and this movie was such a just amazing, culmination of everything. I mean, obviously Endgame is more of a culmination, but this one really more than Endgame, because this one is the first time all of these characters have been in the same movie.
Yeah, except for Thor and Ant-Man.
Yeah, I mean, but talking about all of the characters. Like the cast list for this movie is insane.
Oh,
huge.
yeah, for sure.
And I love this movie. I don't know what to say about it in the short version beyond that. We can get into the specifics as we go, but yeah.
All right, what about you, Eric? What are your quick thoughts about the movie?
I like this movie. I am definitely probably more I think I like the second half. I think I like Endgame more than this movie. Just because I don't know. It'll get into the end stuff, which we'll get into later, but for the most part, no, this is a wonderful piece of like cinema. And it's like it's a wonderful first act for what's to come. I just happen to like what's to come better than this one. But I love this one too. It's
Yeah.
this is maybe up until this point, this is the best Avengers movie.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's almost inarguable. I don't know. Some people like the original, but I don't know. There's
Right.
some parts of that haven't aged well, and weren't really great at the time either.
Like
but
the costumes.
Yeah.
Like Captain America's costume.
Oh yeah.
Which is just the worst.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not the worst. The worst was the one from like the 90s that had the fake ears on the sides.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really count now, does it?
No.
Oh, then there's the one from the 70s, the TV
Oh.
version from the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a really terrible costume.
I wish they'd brought that back for this.
I mean, you know, maybe in the multiverse that version of Cap shows
Oh.
up.
Maybe so.
But going to my quick thoughts, I freaking love this movie. This movie is epic, and in the game to steps up even further because in this one all the characters are kind of separated out in their little groups, but
Mhm.
any game is when they all come together and it's amazing. I mean, yeah, talking about like the big cinematic event, um, you know, to be compared to like Star Wars from like the 70s and the 80s, like
Mhm.
yeah, like this was a freaking phenomenon.
Right.
Like I don't know, I just felt like once Endgame came out, like it just felt like an end of an era. And it was an end of an era in a way.
I mean, it's very specifically
Definitely
was.
is. Yeah.
I don't know, just a part of me died. It felt like just
Mm.
like I was
Right.
all excited for like these movies, like the next one to come out, and then watching, like the end credits or the mid credits, and
Yeah.
like looking online, like like doing all my research and figuring out like who the characters are, that they
Mhm.
tease and all that stuff. Like yeah, it was a fun, like that 10-year span was, or 11-year span.
Mhm.
It was a lot of fun, and we still get that a little bit now, but like it just feels everything
Right.
feels so on focus. Like
hmm
it didn't
Mhm.
seem like there's like an end goal, and then didn't help that you have um very controversial actor in these movies, and that kind of messed up their plan.
Yeah.
But I don't even think they really had a plan after this. I think they got to hear, like I think they at a certain point they knew where they were going, and they got to Infinity. They got to the Infinity Saga, and they got to this point, and they had no idea where they were going
Yeah,
to take
if
it.
you
once
ask
this was
me,
done.
right after Endgame, they should have took like a 2 to 3 year break, like regardless
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
them having a hand in it. But
Well,
with
I
But
mean,
it was so
they
big.
almost did. I mean, except for the TV stuff. I mean, because a few months
Pandemic
after,
happened.
a few months after Endgame, COVID shut down the whole industry for a while.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, despite that, because we couldn't predict that
Yeah.
like, way back in April or May, whenever Endgame came out. But yeah, this was I don't know, it's just I don't know. I'll just look at that the lot that time span. It was a very very fun. It was a very fun time to be a
Yeah,
movie.
there was nothing like it. I mean,
Yeah. It was a great 11
it
years.
just kept getting it more
yeah.
and more exciting all
Mhm.
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's the thing about it. Like I said in the Iron Man review that we did like last year, um, that I thought that like Iron Man was going to be his own separate thing, like the Raimi Spider-Man's, like the Fox
Mhm.
X-Men movies.
Mhm.
But no, like I never would have thought that like Spider-Man or Captain America or
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I
Nobody
never
ever
would have
thought Guardians of the Galaxy was ever going to be in
The
there.
biggest gamble in probably the entire
like,
MCU.
I never thought
I had never even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Same.
Well, I knew about Rocket Raccoon because I saw some reviews for the Lego Marvel game, and I'm like,
Mhm.
wait, there's a raccoon in Marvel? And I found out he was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. But yeah, like it's just crazy to me. Now we're getting Fantastic Four. We're gonna get X-Men. Deadpool's in there. Hugh Jackman is coming back as Wolverine.
Yeah, we'll see if it
Yeah.
works.
I think it's.
I don't know.
it'll work.
I don't know. I think maybe Marvel may be over the hill.
I think it's gonna
I
work.
think our best years
positive,
are
Eric.
behind us.
That's fine.
I'm just saying it hasn't been great after Endgame. There's been shining moments. There's been nice moments. There's been
Right.
really good stuff in there. But not all of it has been to the level it was before
Yeah.
Endgame.
I feel like this is just the same thing we say in every MCU look back.
Yeah, literally, people are checking to see which one they're watching right now. They're like, "Is this? What did they say this last episode?"
But anyways, you ready to get into the deep dive?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. So I love the somber opening for this movie when Thanos attacks the Asgardian ship.
Mhm.
And then he has his little monologue where he says, I won't quote the whole thing, but my favorite part of it is I know what it likes to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, but yet you fail nonetheless. And then he says, but eventually destiny arrives. Or should I say, me. And then he just shows his face, and then he has freaking Thor in a chokehold, or he's squeezing his head.
Yeah, he's dragging him on the ground by his head.
Mhm.
God, that's
It's
savage.
brutal.
And
So
then
good.
Thor goes, "You talk too much," and I just love this. Like it just sets up like this character that we've seen little bits and pieces of with all some of the other movies. Like
Right.
finally get to see
mean-
this guy's a badass. He freaking like beats the shit out of Hulk.
Yeah, we've never seen him do anything except sit in
Yeah.
a chair
Mm.
or stare into the camera. You know, that's all we've ever seen him do.
Yeah, like he lifts
pouty
up the height.
child.
Like I said, he beats the shit out of Hulk.
Yeah.
Able to wield 2 Infinity Stones with no one else
Hmm.
apparently has done that before.
I mean, this is his movie. Like, it's basically a villain backstory, or you know, what I mean, it's like a villain origin story almost in some ways. Like, this is Thanos' movie more than the Avenger movie. Like, really could have been called Thanos of Infinity War.
I mean,
but
yeah, I mean, they even call that out. Marvel themselves called that out when they
Mm.
say at the end of the credits it says Thanos will return.
yeah,
It doesn't
Right.
say the Avengers will
Yeah,
return.
I mean,
And
it ends on a shot of Thanos jumping
Thanos.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
he-
It is
so-
Thanos' movie. Like he was all over the advertising of this movie. And then the third thing that Thanos does in his opening that really just solidifies that, like, no, this is not a guy you reckon with, is he has Loki in a chokehold, and Loki tells him, "You'll never be a god." And freaking Thanos just straight up, like, squeezes that arm and chokes Loki to
yeah,
death. And he throws him on the ground.
no
and he says-
effort, just breaks his neck.
Yeah,
with
and
one
he throws him
hand.
on the ground and he says, no resurrections this time. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn.
it is a merciless way to open a movie.
Mhm.
To the point where, you know, I've talked about me showing all these movies to my mom on here a lot, but
Mm.
we got to this scene and she had already sort of gotten very attached to Loki. I mean, you know,
Oh,
she didn't
no.
like everything he did, but
Mhm.
she saw the good in
He-
him.
He grows on you too. Yeah, that's why they keep
Thor
bringing him
loves
back.
Loki. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but she got so upset during this part of the movie. She was crying so hard we had to stop the movie and wait for her to
Oh
finish.
no.
Oh, wow.
It was the
I will-
most upset
Oh.
she got over any character death in the entire MCU Infinity
crazy.
Saga.
That's crazy. Yeah,
I will play devil's advocate a bit. In that they've killed Loki so many times now. In the back of my mind, I was like, he's not dead. I know he's not dead. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's died, and obviously he's been brought back. So like,
Yeah,
I
it's an
guess I
alternate
was right.
timeline, Loki, but
it's yeah.
yeah.
I mean, technically, Iron Man's out there somewhere too. Then you know what I mean? Like,
right.
none of it matters. I don't know. The multiverse saga gets really murky when you
You
start
can't-
getting.
Because you can't do it. It's
You
like
can't
you
do
can't
it, yeah.
really do it.
But yeah, and then like after Thor gets the shit beat out of him,
Mhm.
Idris Elba's character, I don't remember his name, sends him to Earth, and he
Mm.
land in the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York, and then while Doctor Strange and Wong are like having a conversation.
About sandwiches. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
It's
love
great.
I love all the moments about like them talking about sandwiches or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I just love the
Mhm.
little human moments in these movies.
Well, that's why Wong is one of my favorite characters in the
Oh, yeah.
entire series, is because he's just such a regular dude.
Yeah.
Like he listens to Beyonce and watches The Sopranos, and you know,
Right.
has a craving for a tuna melt once in a while.
I understand Wong probably more than any of the Marvel characters.
But
On
He's
a human
also a
level.
master of the mystical arts, so you know,
Yeah.
people have layers.
yeah, and then
like
so-
onions,
Yeah.
like sandwiches.
or Hulk turns back to Banner,
Mhm.
and then he says Thanos is coming, and then Wong and Doctor Strange just look at each other. Ba, ba, ba,
Well,
ba,
but first they're like, who?
Who?
They have no idea who
and
Thanos
you hear
is.
the ba,
Right.
ba, 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 ba. Avengers, Infinity War, and then it just
Mm.
immediately cuts. Again, don't explain who anybody is except for Thanos.
Mhm.
So they cut to Tony Stark and Pepper Potts going on a run, and then he tells her that he is having a dream where they have a kid, and that sets up Morgan. And
Right.
Mhm.
They even
Yeah.
I had never even, I don't think I ever noticed before that they said the name Morgan in that scene.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Mm.
about
I only
that.
noticed it this latest time watching it.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then Doctor Strange comes in. He basically says, Mr. Stark, I need your help. Oh, by the way, congratulations on the wedding." And again, just one little character moment. That's just love that makes him so.
Mhm. And if they didn't have those moments, this movie would get so bogged down in just like the sort of darkness of it, because Thanos is, like we said already, like a very like ruthless character, killing people just indiscriminately at the top of this movie. And so like it does need those like little moments, those little human moments to keep it
Well,
up
that and
alive.
just it keeps it from getting bogged down in just the weight of the plot.
Yeah.
Because there is so much plot to this movie.
Mhm.
This movie should not work.
Mhm.
Yeah. No,
It
you're
just
right.
shouldn't work. It structurally should just absolutely fall apart. And yet
Mhm.
they found a way to thread the needle and balance out this incredibly intricate plot, multiple plots with multiple
Mhm.
characters
Mhm.
over multiple parts of the universe. And still make it feel like a character-driven story where
Mhm.
every character gets some sort of moment.
Yeah.
Like
All
a
within like
great
2.5
moment.
hours.
Yeah.
All within like 2.5 hours. This is
There-
wild.
I don't know how they did this. I
Yeah,
really
I can't
don't.
even imagine like what it took to even like not even like write down write the actual script, but to come up with like where all the characters are at this point, and figure out where they need to end up by the end of the movie. Like
Sure.
Yeah.
that alone is a headache. But then
Yeah, I mean, I guess some of it
dialogue
was
and
probably already
planning
set from
and-
other movies. Yeah, I mean, some of it was probably set from other movies. So like Wanda and Vision and all that sort of stuff. Like just
Right.
figuring out where they were in the universe, but then like how they get back, how everything connects back together. Like you were saying, Drew. Like that's the stuff
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah. Now here's my question. So I'm just gonna take a wild guess that James Gunn was sort of working on the story for Guardian 3.
Yeah, and supposedly they let
Yeah.
him come in and rewrite the dialogue for the Guardians sections of this movie.
I knew that, but my question is, did he know before this movie came out that Gamora died? Because he would have to have that in Guardian 3.
see, there's that huge scene in Guardians 3 where he's like telling the entire plot of these movies to her in an elevator, which is a very funny scene.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like he didn't have any say in that sort of like plot twist.
Yeah,
that
I
happens
don't
in these
think so
movies.
either. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
always
think that
wondered
was
about
beyond
these
his control.
movies.
I think
right.
because he wanted. I think I read somewhere, and I could be wrong about this, that he wanted to kill Gamora at the end of 2, maybe.
Guardians 2.
Yeah, Guardians 2, and Marvel wouldn't let him. And they were like, we have plans for her within the Infinity Saga or something like, it was something like that. And so
Yeah,
like he
I always
couldn't. There was some things
wondered-
he couldn't do within the Guardians movies. It may have been 3. He may have wanted to kill her in 3 or something like that. And they're like, no, we can't. You can't do that because of this, whatever. But
Yeah, always wondered that with these movies because they're always different directors and writers. So I always wonder if they get like spoilers, so they know how to like set up their movie or how to work these.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, people have talked about that as being like kind of frustrating to make a movie. Like, you know, you don't really want to talk about Joss Whedon that much these days, but he said while working on Ultron, you know, the studio had all of these things that they had to have in the movie in order to set up future movies. And he found that incredibly draining from a creative standpoint because he couldn't just tell the story he wanted to tell. So yes, Kevin Feige and his team of producers, and apparently the way it works, I mean, y'all have both read the MCU book, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so I mean, it talks about that in the book where like certain producers, they have certain projects that they are overseeing and then they all report back to Feige. So
Right.
It's a crazy machine they have going on.
Harry Potter movies was like that. The writer of those movies, like he basically sat down with J.K. Rowling. Since those books were coming out, and so he had the whole thing out. And he would say, like,
when he first started, only like the first 4 books had been released, and so he got to find out stuff that was going to happen in future books that nobody else ever knew.
Oh, interesting.
You know,
yeah, that's always kind of interesting because I always wondered that. But Doctor Strange and Dr. Banner tells Stark what's going on and who Thanos is, and it leads to this big action scene. And I love the Stan Lee cameo when he's Peter Parker's best friend. He's like, "What's wrong, kid? You never seen a spaceship before?"
Which, if they're kids from New York, they've definitely seen a spaceship before.
Right.
Just a few years ago. There were
not even that long ago.
Coming out of
one thing that bugs me about these movies, looking at it in the grand scheme of things, because okay, so Iron Man's the first one, right? In the series.
Yeah.
But we clearly had Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the original Ant-Man and the Wasp, Hank Pym and not Hope Van Dyne, Janet Van Dyne.
Janet Van Dyne,
yeah, that one. And Captain America. Did nobody that's witnessing these things that Iron Man is doing in the first one, like, did they totally forget about Captain America and Ant-Man and Wasp and Captain Marvel?
Well, okay, you can kind of explain a lot of this away. So Captain America, that happened during World War II.
Yeah.
And it's just a little piece of obscure history.
It's also maybe propaganda too. Like it could be
that's also
full-on American propaganda. Yeah.
Iron Man, I mean, that's just like a tech gone wild scenario. There's no aliens or anything going on in the first 2 Iron Man movies.
Right.
Like if Elon Musk decided instead of to build a Cybertruck, he decided to build a suit of armor.
Captain Marvel, honestly, if you think about it, and we'll talk about it in a little while, all the events of that movie, there's barely any public visibility to them. You know,
most of it takes place in a desert for the
desert,
the whole end,
and then in space.
Yeah.
So people don't know.
What about the train scene? Like nobody thought, oh, this Iron Man guy that's connected to this one Captain America or Captain Marvel chick that I encountered back in the 90s.
I don't know. I feel like that was something that probably a lot of people didn't have very much knowledge of. And plus you got to think S.H.I.E.L.D. is good at covering this kind of stuff.
It's true. That's what I would say about Pym, is that they were like covert agents.
I mean, that's exactly what they are. They're covert agents, and they're so tiny that nobody can see them.
Yeah.
So everything that they did is easily explained away, you know.
Yeah, I guess
Miss Captain Marvel would be the only one that I'm like, someone should probably remember that at some point.
Yeah.
But
like Stan Lee. Yeah, he was there.
Star of Mallrats, Stan Lee.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
And then I love when Thanos' children, or a couple of them, show up to New York, and they
Mm.
confront Tony Stark and Banner and Strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when Doctor Strange, or not Doctor Strange, when Tony Stark goes, Earth is closed for the day. Just love that. And then
Mhm.
this guy, I don't know his name, but
Oh, all of Thanos' children have the most insane names.
I don't
Like,
remember their
there's-
names.
Okay, so the one that looks like Squidward, that's Ebony
Mhm.
Maw. And then let me see. Oh, I gotta find them real quick. Keep talking, I'll find. Oh, so then there's Cull Obsidian. That's the
Is that Carrie
big
Coon?
No, that's the big hulking one.
Oh,
Carrie
okay.
Coon, her name is oh no, Cull Obsidian. That's a different one. That's like the skinny guy. That's
Yeah, okay.
yeah. And then the big hulking one is Corvus Glaive.
Mm-hmm.
God.
They really just roll off the tongue, these names.
Yeah, Carrie Coon is Proxima Midnight.
I like
Like,
that one.
they all have
I remember Proxima Midnight.
they all
That's
have
the only
most
one I can kind of remember.
absolutely absurd names.
Dude,
Yeah.
Proxima Midnight sounds like an 80s all-girl like rock metal band.
I would go see Proxima Midnight. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anytime.
Sort of glam, sort of dark. Yeah, I
Mhm.
can see that. It'd be
But no,
cool.
I love that Squidward joke. I think that's just so funny. It's like, get lost, Squidward.
Yeah.
But that's that's one of those
He does
movies
look like Squidward.
entire, like the timing is so perfect.
Mm.
And so like the entire theater just started cracking out.
Right.
I kind of
Mhm.
went to go see this. I went to go see this with my grandma and then my best friend. Went to
Well,
Nick.
this scene has my personal favorite comedic line from any Marvel movie,
Mm.
which is when Spider-Man swoops in and he asks Mr. Stark what's going on, and he's like, he's from space. He came to steal a necklace from a wizard.
Which is exactly what is happening.
Yeah, that's exactly the truth. But it's just it's so funny
I
to
gotta
hear
say-
you put it that way.
No, and it's just that it's almost self-referential in the sense that
Right.
everything that is happening is a little absurd. Like Marvel is trying to play in on the joke, and it works really well here.
Well, I gotta say, outside the two Guardians movies, I mean, because there's two of them at this point, I think this is like one of the funniest like MCU movies. Like, this is generally funny.
I mean, a lot
gets
of
pretty
them are
dark,
really
though.
funny. Yeah, a lot
This
of
one
them
gets
are
really dark.
I mean,
Well,
even Endgame has a bunch of funny stuff in it.
Yeah, I would say Endgame may be funnier than this one,
Yeah, I gotta watch that again. But
but we'll get to that one.
well,
Yeah.
speaking of funny, I just love the whole aspect that like Dr. Banner or the Hulk is so petrified after he got the crap beat out of him by Thanos.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like basically after Thanos went Conor McGregor on the Hulk.
Mhm.
And then like he's trying to like Hulk out and he's like, no. He's like, screw you, you big green asshole.
We should call him the Yellow Hulk
Mm.
because he's yellow.
Because he's chicken. He's chicken.
Yeah.
Well, all I gotta say is at least Mark Ruffalo could perform in Poor Things.
Mm.
Gosh. This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but some friends of mine, we were just like, I don't remember how we got off on this, but we were talking about like, what if there was a Hulk that became the Hulk from being sad? It was just like Hulk sad, and then we decided that's Blue Hulk.
Oh.
It's fun to think of different variations on
Do
the
you know
Hulk.
why the Hulk, well, I'm assuming everybody knows that the Hulk was originally gray in the first comic.
Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
You know why that they changed him to green?
Why?
Mm.
Because they didn't apparently Marvel didn't have enough gray ink. That's the only
Okay.
reason.
I mean,
That
he looks way
sounds about
better
right.
green.
Yeah, he looks better as green. He's
Yeah.
more memorable as green. If he was
Right.
gray, it'd just big gray
Yeah.
blob.
Be kind of boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine. The Blue Hulk when he's sad.
No, the Cowardly Hulk would be the Yellow Hulk. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, I just love that whole aspect. I thought that, and then at one point he says, "Hulk, we got some things to figure out,"
Mm.
and that's what he did those 5 years after the snap.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep, he went
Yeah.
out to the desert. He went on a long soul searching journey, and he saw llamas.
Yeah. I don't know. Hulk in Endgame is my favorite Hulk, I think. Just smart Hulk is such a it's it's such a, I mean, we're getting into the end game, but a little bit, but it's such a wonderful reveal on him. And
Right.
something that I didn't see coming. I don't know.
I love when Spider-Man goes up into the spaceship and then he gets locked in there and he says I should have stayed on the bus, and I'm like, yeah, think you're gonna be dusted there in a few hours, Pete.
No, I always think of the line, and this is again getting ahead, but it's the line from Far From Home. Is it Far From Home? Yeah, Far From Home, where he's like, I can't go do that. He's like talking to Nick Fury, and he's like, I can't go do that. And Nick Fury's just like, bitch, you've been to space. So anytime I see these scenes, I'm just like, that line always just pops up in my head.
Yeah, I love that line. And that's so on brand for Nick Fury. Like, bitch, you've been to space.
So yeah, Spider-Man in space. I do love Spider-Man in space.
That gets you into like just the way they divide up the characters and where they decide to send each character. And it's like, it's not necessarily the intuitive choices. You know, you don't expect Spider-Man to go off into space with Doctor Strange and Iron Man and to run into, you know, the Guardians or anything. Let's bring it back to Spider-Man in this movie. What does everybody think about the sort of Iron Spider?
Oh, I love it.
Thing.
I'm all about it.
I'm on the fence about it. I think it's fun. It's a fun idea. But I think it just kind of makes him almost too powerful. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of have a problem with it too. Obviously, if he's going to go into space, he has to have a suit,
some sort of suit
that where he can survive in that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just so much. It's so much. And by this point,
the legs that come
all
out,
of them have like nanotech where they don't have to take their masks or their helmets off. They just sort of like disappear. And I understand that from a filmmaking standpoint, it makes things way more sort of efficient.
Sure.
Because you don't have to keep track. Like if they take their helmet off, you don't have to keep track of where they put it down or anything.
Right.
But at the same time, it does make everything just a little bit sillier.
Right.
Yes.
And not necessarily in a good way.
Right. Well, you have to kind of think
No,
about
I
it
agree.
from the standpoint of a child, because Spider-Man, out of every superhero ever, like Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, whatever, he's the most child-friendly superhero.
Well, right.
Yes, like
true.
You would.
But it's like, but they're doing that with every character. Like, you know, in the older Iron Man movies, Tony Stark, he would have these different sort of devices that he would have to use to put the suit on. But now they're just like, oh, it's just nanotech and it's housed in a little unit on his chest. Yeah. It just sort of forms around his body. And I don't know. It's just
like, you always want different. It was like when the 89 Batman movie came out, they put out all these different Batmans, like submarine suit.
Which are fun toys. But they'd be silly if it was actually in the movie. And then of course, you get to the Joel Schumacher movies,
because
that stuff is in the movie. You know, they've got ice skates coming out of their boots and stuff.
It works here because he's teaming up with Stark. So it would make sense that he would have...
But he's already been teamed up with Stark.
Yeah,
like
I'm not specifically getting after just the Spider-Man. I'm talking about they've done that with all the characters.
Sure. And also Iron Man 2 kind of does it the best in that it is a suit that he has to put on, and it's like in a briefcase that he has to carry with him. Yeah,
that's or in the Avengers, it's really cool where he like flies to his tower and like this little arms come up out of the ground and like take the suit off for him and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I started watching the Batman Begins series or Beyond series, and with Terry McGillis, like the all black suit with the the wings, like that's like a new like action figure for a kid to buy. Like that's cool.
So you're saying movies should be more toyetic?
Yes, because these are
okay. Ike Perlmutter.
Hey, capitalism isn't always bad. Like
just most of the time.
Hey, like companies get to make money off of poor innocent parents.
Yeah,
kids get a ton of cool Spider-Man action figures. It worked both ways.
That's fair. I mean, I do think it is a little convenient that they can just bring on their suits on and off all the time. And
they did it with Black Panther too.
Yeah. And it's less of a choice than for an actor to like fully reveal themselves. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
it becomes just like, oh, my suit just unmasks itself. I don't know. It's
Yeah. Well, speaking of
fine,
Spider-Man
but
and
it's not
being-
a great choice.
speaking of Spider-Man and being child friendly, I remember the first time I saw this with my grandma.
Mhm.
There's a little kid dressed up as Spider-Man in the front row. And when
Mm.
the movie ended, I'm like, yeah, little Timmy's gonna have nightmares tonight.
Right.
Oh.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Mm.
But anyways, I absolutely love this whole subplot of Stark and Rogers trying to reunite with each other, and it never
Mm.
happens until Endgame. I thought that was
Mhm.
real interesting. Kind of keep up the suspense of like, ooh, they're mad at each other, or Stark is mad at
Mhm.
Right.
Rogers. Like, are
Yeah.
they gonna up? What are they gonna say? I love that whole thing.
It was funny. I was watching it with the other night with my parents, and they'd seen it. You know, I showed it to them years ago. But
Sure.
when Stark pulls out his little flip phone to contact Cap, they're like, he has
Yeah.
a flip phone, and I'm like, yeah, Cap gave it to him. Of course, he gave him a flip phone.
Of course he would. Yeah.
Cap's not going to use a smartphone.
Yeah.
No.
That's just beyond the.
flip phone is already advanced enough for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's already mind blowing
Well,
technology.
Right.
I absolutely.
And plus it plays as like a burner phone too. Like
Yeah.
he's
That's
like
true,
you
too,
know,
yeah.
he's off the map.
Right.
Well, I think out of all the character intros, I think Cap is my favorite. When you see the silhouette of him in the train.
It's amazing.
Mm,
It is
yes.
electrifying.
Yeah, when Thanos
see the
killed
return
him,
it.
throws the spear at him and he catches it. I thought that
And he
was
shows
Mhm.
up and he's got a beard and he looks like the
Yeah.
hottest he's ever looked.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
well, I love right before that when they're in Germany where Vision is in a human form
Mm.
and
I thought they were in
Mhm.
Scotland.
oh Germany, I think Scotland.
Yeah, I think they're in Glasgow, Scotland. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, they're in Scotland and then Vision's in human form and then they're about to go away. You know, they're about to like live their like a normal life. And then they get attacked
So
by
they
Thanos'
thought.
children and Vision gets stabbed and he's like just useless at this point.
Yeah.
I love the part when he said I stood and stayed in bed. I'm like, good idea, Vision. Stay in bed with your heart girlfriend.
I like getting to see Paul Bettany's like real
Yeah.
face in this movie.
Yeah,
It's
well, and
nice.
again, it was going back.
Is
to
this
those little,
the first time we've ever seen it in these movies?
yeah,
Yeah, as
Okay,
far
I
as
couldn't
him
remember.
actually looking human. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because, at first he was just a voice, and then he's been like the
yeah, he was
red,
nervous.
Vision for
Right,
the past
since
couple
Ultron.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just that line was it was another one of those little those little character like human moments.
Mhm.
I just love.
Yeah.
You had to have that in there.
So what's next in this? Is the next
Oh, no.
sequence, is that when the Guardians show up? And
Yeah,
they're
I
all
love that. I love that
singing
whole
the-
interaction
the-
with him and Thor.
like the Rubber Man or whatever they're singing.
Oh, okay, we're talking about that. Yeah, I love
I
that.
mean, it's just such a great introduction of them in this movie where like
Mhm.
they're all into the song. Like even Gamora, she's like getting down with the song and
Mhm.
everything.
Dude,
Yeah.
okay, so when I went to go see this with my best friend Quentin the second time, like he was dancing to this song, man, like in the sea.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think he likes a lot of this kind of like old like R&B
Right.
music.
But no, it's fun to set them up as like a loving family compared
Mhm.
to sort of the rest of our Avengers who are like spread apart and
It's
like
all
fractured
very
at this point.
dysfunctional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I love the whole bickering between Star-Lord and Thor. I thought that was real funny. And then well even when Thor's like unconscious on the table, and he says, what up with this dude? And then Drax goes, that is not a dude. You are a dude. That is a god. And then like there's whole thing that like Star-Lord had to say, which is funny because he had to bulk up for Star-Lord.
Right.
Mhm.
I thought that was funny. Well, when we were
Drax gushing over Thor is always funny.
yeah. Well, I love
It's like a pirate had a baby with an angel.
I forgot about that.
I always love a joke in a movie where somebody accuses another character of copying them.
Yeah.
And this movie does it twice. It goes to the copying well twice because it's like it's like has Star-Lord is like, he's copying the way that he's copying my voice. And then later in the movie, Thor shows up to the battle and he sees Captain America. He's like, I see you've copied my beard. I don't know why. I just always enjoy seeing a character accusing another character of
Yeah, I
copying
love
them.
that.
It's just it makes them more human in some ways. It's their
Right.
vanity that comes showing out. It's a very fun character trait that everyone sort of experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing I like about this particular scene is you get a couple of character beats here. You get Thor kind of, going through the motions of his brother dying.
Right.
Mhm.
And then like sort of like he had a connection with Rocket, because I mean, of course, we don't know Rocket's backstory at this point, but James Gunn does.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kind of wrote those little moments in there where you kind of
Yeah, and you watch it after having seen Guardians 3, and you're like, oh, this is everything that Rocket is going through in his own mind, in his own heart. And he understands Thor in this moment more than anyone ever could.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then you also get a Gamora kind of moment there.
Mm.
I love
And
that.
I will say that is nice, is that it gives these movies rewatchability,
Right,
in a lot of ways that a lot of other like blockbuster movies don't really. I rewatched all the Planet of the Apes recently, and for the most part, like even the new Andy Serkis ones, like everything is still in there that happened in the previous one. It's nothing new is sort of revealed. There's no other like deeper layer that a new version, a new episode reveals from a previous episode, sort of thing. So that's nice about these movies, and that you do see that there are layers for these characters that will only get revealed movies later, sort of thing.
right.
Yeah, well, going back to Harry Potter is very much like that, where like you thought like some plot or something they had to find in like Prisoner of Azkaban, which is there, but then by like Order of the Phoenix, like no, this is kind of important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then like I said, you got a whole Gamora thing here, where like she kind of explains her relationship with Thanos,
Right.
and then you see her as like a little girl, and her planet is being invaded by Thanos and his children, and then that one Squidward looking guy does the whole monologue again. They him do in the first one. He says, you might find this as genocide, but consider it salvation from Thanos.
Oh gosh,
It's so awesome.
Just a total monster.
Well, that's the thing. Well,
it's such an interesting monster.
Well, let's go back to that beginning part, because this is when this movie came out, I was still washing dishes at a local college. That was my first job. I mean, I went to go see this movie right after like a closing shift. So I was already pretty tired, and I'm afraid that I was gonna fall asleep during this movie. No, this monologue that character gives like had me hooked. I'm like, like I'm staying awake during this movie.
I saw both this and Endgame at midnight shows. They were special, because this is when I was working at Alamo. So we had special employee screenings at midnight.
Oh, very cool.
And I am very bad about, if I start a movie too late, I'm going to fall asleep. Not these two. Not this and Endgame. Didn't even come close to falling. They are just so engaging from start to finish.
Jam packs. Yeah, no, every scene is essential. Like they almost have to have every scene in here for it to make sense even.
Well, and that's what I was saying with like I can't
No
even
fat,
imagine like just doing like just character layouts or like even treatment for this movie, like just figuring out.
Yeah, it's like, incredible that they were able to do it.
Well, let's go back to the flashback scene, because Gamora, the little Gamora, is clearly like scared that her people are dying, and then Thanos goes up to her, basically explains like his philosophy in life,
right?
And he pulled out this little pin thing that had like a balance thing, and he said, it's kind of like this thing, like too much to the left, it doesn't work. Too much to the right, it doesn't work. You have to have the balance. And it's really interesting. Like you kind of almost agree with the bad guy in a weird way.
Yeah.
Well, no, and that's why people have made this comment before, but I mean, it is Thanos' movie. Has he given away his full plan at this point? I can't
No,
remember. I
that's
don't
what
think
he's
so,
on
right?
Biden.
Right. I mean, and this makes sense towards his bigger plan, is that there has to be balance within the universe. It's like they can't be, they can't
Well,
tip
I mean,
one way or the other.
Gamora is the one that really tells you what his plan is. When they first meet Thor, she lays it
That's
all
right.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, he
So.
even has a line to Gamora where he says, "Reality is often disappointing." That is, it was. And he looks down at the Infinity Gauntlet. And I think this is when he's with Red Skull. I can't remember what part of this movie this is. Then he says, "Now reality can be whatever I want it."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the destruction of his planet, like, it got to him. And so he wants these Infinity Stones so he can have absolute power.
Mm-hmm.
And but what he didn't realize is by killing Loki, he didn't have any feelings toward how that makes Thor feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the two wrongs don't make a right kind of situation.
I mean, yeah, if you want
No,
to
he's-
boil it down like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's something
He's
I
a super.
just now thought of.
Yeah.
I literally just now thought about that.
Mm.
Like, he is devastated by what happened to his people.
Sure.
That he resorts to murder. And now he
Yeah.
didn't murder like Joker, like I'll just see anybody that's in my way and I'll kill him. No, like if you're
Mm.
in the way of my goal, I will kill you. And if you're
He's a methodology. Yeah.
if you stay out of my way, then I'll have mercy on you.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not like Michael Myers Joker, where they'll just kill anybody that they see.
Right.
Well, and
And
it's an
that's why-
ego thing too, because he's
Mhm.
explaining to Gamora, he's like, it's a simple calculus, the universe is finite, the resource is finite, it needs correction. And she's like, you
Mhm.
don't know that. And he goes, I'm the only one who knows that, which is chilling.
Yeah.
I mean,
Josh
it's-
Brolin's so great.
yeah, it's almost kind of like a Hitler mentality.
Oh, it's definitely, yeah. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
yeah, like
any,
it's what
any
makes him an
despot
interesting
all throughout
villain.
history. Yeah.
Yeah. We've watched movies. We've watched movies in this series where there's a villain who wants to kill everybody for no particular reason at all.
Right.
And I do feel like they at least give Thanos a methodology to his destruction. I mean, I always think of
Right.
like the Dark World. The Dark World makes no sense, even though he almost has the same plan as Thanos does in
Yeah.
some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
yeah,
Josh
but it's
Brolin's really
still
good in this, and he
written.
really
It's just
sells this.
that character's just Thanos is written way
Mm.
better than Malekith.
Right.
For sure.
And in the movies of '94, when I was talking about the Warden from Saul Sync,
Mm-hmm.
where there's those villains that you just hate,
Right.
like him,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's villains that you sympathize with, and then there's villains that you can kind of get behind, even though they're doing bad things, and they can kind
Mhm.
of bleed into each other. I
Mhm.
feel like Thanos is the sympathetic villain, and the villain you can kind of almost kind of get behind a little bit.
I mean, there is a whole
Maybe.
internet community around this.
Yeah.
The sort of
Maybe
hashtag
Joker.
Thanos was
He's better
right.
Joker's easier to get behind because like a lot of what he's saying is right. But no, like the whole thing about balance is like, yeah, you need balance as to some extent, but like what you're doing is wrong. You're killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're just doing it all the wrong way.
Tisk, Thanos.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
There's so much in this movie to unpack. It's like this is gonna
Yeah.
go on forever.
We
'Cause
feel
we
like
haven't
we're
even
gonna. We
gotten
should have
to-
just. Yeah.
Like my
I feel like
favorite
we're-
subplot of like and little grouping in the movie is Thor and Rocket and Groot.
Mm.
I could watch a whole movie of just them.
Yeah, well, I love that whole thing where Peter Dinklage's character has to build Stormbreaker, and then
Oh my
like,
god! I
Thor's,
forgot about the Peter Dinklage.
yeah,
stuff.
Thor's in
Yeah.
that like level of a scene, and Peter Dinklage says it's going to continue any further. It's suicide. And it means I'm willing to
Mhm.
die, and then Peter Dinklage is like, yes, that's what killing you means.
That's not exactly how that exchange goes, but yeah.
It's something.
But yeah, I love all that. I love that they took an actor who in real life is a little person and made him a giant.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Like that's just really fun casting there.
Yeah, I thought he was either going to be Murdoch or one of the Washers when I heard Peter Dinklage was going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't even know he was going to be in this movie. It was
Yeah, I
always
don't think
just
I
a
knew
surprise.
I didn't
Yeah,
think
to
I
see
knew
him.
it either. He shows up and he's bigger than
Yeah.
all of them. And that's,
Yeah,
oh, that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
Because his race is technically some sort of dwarf.
Yeah, I remember
Yes.
my
The type of
friend-
dwarves that are like bigger.
Yeah, I
than
remember my
anybody else.
friend was like, oh, that's the guy from Game of Thrones.
Right.
He saw him. I thought that was a lot of fun.
He's doing such a weird voice though. I'm not sure I actually like his performance in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's
fine.
the voice that he's using seems a little forced, but I
Yeah.
like that he's in the movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, another thing I like about this movie, going back to the whole Thanos Gamora thing, I love how
Mhm.
Red Skull is the guardian of the Soul Stone. And that's interesting how Red Skull, the guardian of the stone, considering that both
Mhm.
the characters are complete power hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I just now forgot. I remember this. Like that was what Red Skull was going after the Tesseract, which had one.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like that was quite interesting.
Mhm.
I did a
And it-
theory. Oh, sorry.
I think that was another surprise casting in that like there was no reveals that Hugo Weaving or Red Skull was going to be in this.
Well,
movie,
Hugo
right?
Weaving
Like,
isn't playing Red Skull in this movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is someone else.
It's a comedian / impressionist named
Mhm.
Ross Marquand.
I love him.
Who he's really fun to go on YouTube and like he does what he calls micro impressions, where
Mhm.
he'll just do an impression of a celebrity just like saying one word or whatever, like doing some sort of mundane activity. They're really fun.
That's funny. But
Yeah.
well, I actually had a theory about Red Skull's involvement in both this movie and Endgame because in the comics, I don't know if you were aware, but Thanos is in love with death.
Yeah.
The literal
Mhm.
goddess of death.
Yeah.
and
Right.
On different forms.
Mhm.
So I had a theory since Thanos has to kill Gamora to
Mhm.
get this other stone. I had a theory that Red Skull is actually the goddess of death. And he was trying to please that character. He was trying to please death by killing
That's fair.
Gamora, and that's the whole.
Yeah, I mean,
I do like that they didn't go into the physical route where it was like a physical person who is death that Thanos is trying to appease, that it is some more of an ideology for him in this movie.
Well, now that I think about it, it makes more sense because I forgot that because of Red Skull's obsession with the Tesseract, it was his ultimate doom. Like he went to this other dimension, and then we find out that he's here guarding this stone. So that makes a lot more sense than him, the death being taking on that form of Red Skull.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my theory going into Endgame. That was going to be a reveal.
Well, I mean, he's definitely he's dressed like the Grim Reaper. He's wearing the flowing black robe, and his face is a skull. And so, yeah, I guess it's probably intentional on the part of the filmmakers, like because they're steeped in all this lore and everything. So they've always got little things that they throw in as Easter eggs and stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. If in the comics, the goddess of death is connected to a stone, but that was like I said, that was the theory I had because it kind of tied in to.
But yeah, it is best that they came up with a different motivation for Thanos, because the other sounds like it would just be too convoluted. This is very nice and clean and easy to follow, and yet still very compelling thematically.
Yeah, that was really shocking how that turned out with Gamora. Now, to kind of lighten the mood up a little bit, I do want to talk about one of my favorite jokes in the movie. When Cap and then his little group showed up to Wakanda, and then I think it's Okoye, right? Says,
Yeah.
so when we opened up Wakanda to the rest of the world, I thought, I thought we would have something else. And T'Challa goes like, what? I don't know, a Starbucks?
The Olympics, yeah.
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 Well, I'm thinking like, okay, well, hopefully Wakandan Starbucks is unionized.
Well, I also in that scene
Probably.
another really funny moment
imagine.
is it's Rhodey and Banner, right? And they're getting off the plane,
Mhm.
and Banner asks Rhodey's like, "Should I bow?" And Rhodey's like, "Yeah, he's a king." So Banner comes out and does a little bow, and then he's like, and then Rhodey's like, "What are you doing, man?" Just trolling Banner for
And
no
then T'Challa
reason.
goes, we don't do that here.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, the second time I went to go see this movie in theaters, I was because me and the same friend I went to go see this the second time with, we also went to go see Black Panther,
Mm-hmm.
and we both really enjoyed that movie. And we like Black Panther as a character. And so I was really excited to get and see the part where freaking Steve Rogers and T'Challa freaking run into battle at high speed. Because like you think about it, like they're both the leader of their own country. Captain America for America and T'Challa, Black Panther for Wakanda.
Well, I mean, T'Challa
Steve
is
Rogers
literally
not,
the leader of his country.
Right. but like a symbol. Like they're both symbols.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Get this man some shields.
yeah.
Oh, of course,
love that
that's the
part.
shot in the movie that the trailer lied about. We might as well mention that.
Oh yeah.
Because the trailer showed Hulk running with them
Yes.
in that scene.
Mm.
And that's Hulk
Not
does not
there.
show up there.
No. Yeah, but I love that because Captain America is my favorite Avenger in the movies. In the comics, I love Spider-Man. But yeah, I love that part when T'Challa goes and give this man a shield.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Man, and then we just get this epic battle.
Yeah.
On Wakanda and then on Titan, and then
it ends and you think that they might win. Like by the end of it with Thor, you're like, oh, this might work out for everybody.
When Thor shows up, it is just absolute triumph.
Well, let's back up a little bit because Doctor Strange gets all these different scenarios, and he says,
"Yeah, 14,605."
Oh, the fact that you memorized that's some nerdy shit.
I've seen this movie very many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the next level nerdy shit right there, Jackson Harbor. But no,
well, I'll get into that later, but keep going.
And then he says, that one is where they win.
Right.
And they do in Endgame. They figure all this crap out. They figure out a way. So yeah.
So are we to the finale of the movie? Because there's a lot to talk about in the finale.
A lot to unpack in that, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like we can't spend forever. We still got 2 more movies to talk about.
We've talked for almost an hour, over an hour. We've talked for an hour and a half about this.
Just about, yeah.
But no, I do love the I am Steve Rogers, I am Groot bit. I thought that was
it's terrific.
Yeah.
And then so they get to more of a story kind of thing. So then we have some of the Guardians and Spider-Man and Iron Man holding like doggy piling kind of on Thanos to get Stephen, and you got one off of him. And then Star-Lord finds out that Gamora dies, and he gets pissed, and he like just messes it up for everybody. And then he goes to Wakanda, takes the last Infinity Stone out of Vision. Vision's dead.
After Vision has already died once in this movie. That's a big, bold swing this movie takes. Vision dies twice.
Yes. And then Thor, who is pissed off at this point, goes to Thanos, hits him in the chest or whatever, and then Thanos goes, "You should have went for my neck." That half the Avengers disappear.
I mean, Yes.
Well, and then no, before that, Doctor Strange goes, "This is the only way this could happen. We're in the end game now." And then now there's stuff with Thor and Thanos with the Infinity Stone happen.
Yeah,
Sure.
that to me is one of my favorite moments in the movie. I'm not gonna reveal my actual favorite thing in this movie until we get to that, because we haven't talked about it yet at all. But the moment, like right before Doctor Strange disappears and he looks and he says, "Tony, there was no other way."
Yes.
Because he's freely given the time stone, even though he said he would not do that. Like, he very specifically says, if it comes down to saving you or the kid or the time stone, I'm going to choose the time stone.
Right.
And then he just completely goes back on his word.
But
he
that's
knows
because he's gone through every scenario.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's the only, there is no other way.
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
chilling when he says that.
Well, here's what pisses me off about this is that they purposely did not tell you the subtitle for the next one because it was a spoiler for this movie. And so everybody assumed that the next one was going to be Endgame. It wasn't until December when they finally revealed that movie was going to be called Endgame.
Yeah, because originally they were just calling it Infinity War Part 1 and 2.
Part 2, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, from after the release of this movie, they dropped the first trailer for Endgame. They did not tell it. They did not confirm that.
Yeah, I had forgotten that they didn't
just
tell
told
the
you.
title.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knew it was going to be Endgame because of what Doctor Strange
Yeah.
says. Like, I don't freaking get it.
I don't know. I heard some other speculations out there to what it could be, but yeah, it was pretty obvious it was going to be.
Yeah, but that was like the main one that everybody was.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Avengers.
It really irritated me. It's like he teased it that long just for it to be what people ended up thinking it was going to be. Like,
what would be the worst, stupidest title that Endgame could have had instead? It's a fun game.
Oh man, yeah. What is Peter's last line?
What
is Peter's last line in this movie? Like
I don't
verbatim,
feel
what is
Stark.
it? I don't feel good, Mr. Stark. Avengers, I don't feel good, Mr. Stark.
I got one.
think would be the best one.
Avengers time heist.
That is basically what it is.
Yeah.
Avengers hop into the DeLorean because it's the time travel movie. I don't know. But yeah, that's the Avengers. Oh no, so okay. Before we get to the favorite part and least favorite part, I want to go around the room. When people started going away into dust, what was your first initial thought? And I'll start with you, Eric.
Oh, they're gonna come back. That literally was my first initial thought. Was just like, oh, they're killing everyone here, but they're gonna bring them back in the next one.
Hey, what was your initial thought when that was going on? When
Pretty
you
much the same. Like, I remember
Yeah.
being in that theater and everybody being so upset with what was going on.
Same.
And the only thing going on in my mind is like, they killed off all the newer characters and kept all the older characters.
Yeah.
So there's no possible way this is not going to be reversed,
Right.
which I wish I didn't think that way, but it's just kind of just how my brain works.
Well, I was same way. If they killed off the older characters and left the newer characters,
Now-
it may have been like, oh, they're
Now,
dead. They're gone. Yeah.
I'm not saying it is not dramatically the right choice or
No,
that it's
100%.
not satisfying in that sense, but I'm not like, to me, it's not like a cliffhanger or anything, even though it
gonna come
technically
back.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew they would come back. I knew they would come back.
Well, I eventually figured that they were going to come back after just thinking about it and meditating on it and then hearing everybody else's thought on it. But my first initial reaction was like, "Oh my, what's going on? Where are they going?" Because my brain didn't look like your two's brain, and that's okay.
Flipped away. Yeah.
But anyways, guys, let's get the favorite part and least favorite part, and I'll start with you, Jackson. What's your favorite part?
Okay, my favorite part, like I said, my favorite sort of subplot of this movie is the Thor, Rocket, Groot whole thing. So when they're on, what's it, Nidavellir, or I can't ever remember how you say it. Anyway, and they've forged the axe blade and everything, and I don't remember Peter Dinklage's character's name, but he's running around. He's like, "Where's the handle? He needs the axe," in that silly voice that he's using. Yep. But like, man, that moment when Groot like extends his arm and like puts the two halves of the blade together and then chops up his half, because Groot has acted like a dick the whole movie. He's just like a moody teenager
Groot. Yeah,
playing his video game. And the fact that they choose that moment to give him, because Groot always has a great hero moment. You know, that's just part of Groot lore, you know. And this is probably my favorite. I mean, I don't know. We Are Groot in the first one is incredible.
This is a good moment, though. I'd forgotten about this moment until I rewatched it again.
It is powerful when he makes his own arm the handle of Stormbreaker. Wow, love it.
Okay, and what's your least favorite part, if you have one?
Nah, we're not doing that.
Okay, let's say it.
This movie's great.
All right, what about you, Eric? What is your favorite part and your least favorite part?
My favorite part is my favorite part is this Doctor Strange one, where he's like, this is it, this is the one. That's my favorite part of the movie. Least favorite part, I don't really have one.
Yeah, you know,
other than just like I knew that they were gonna come back. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel quite as.
That's
like,
not the movie's fault, though. That's just us being
just me.
Cynical old jerks.
100%. Yeah.
What was your least favorite part? I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry, Eric.
Oh, it's Doctor Strange's this is the one. This is
No,
the only one where we win. Yeah.
My
least favorite part? Least favorite part is just I knew everybody was coming back.
Okay, that.
And then it's not the filmmaker's part. It's just on me for being an asshole.
So my favorite part, and I totally thought you were gonna take it because I know you love this character, and I just kind of figured, knowing you for as long as I have. But to connect to your part, Jackson, it's Brie Thanos. That is so badass. Like, he is gonna piss right now. Like, he wants to freaking kill this motherfucker at this point. And
we haven't mentioned the other thing I love about that whole dynamic is how he keeps calling Rocket Rabbit. Thank you, sweet rabbit.
Thank you,
well, I just love the fact that Thor can speak Groot. That's funny.
We took it on Asgard. It was an elective.
But anyways, I remember when I first saw this movie, the people in front of us was clearly Thor fans, and they started freaking out during this part.
Yeah.
He finally is supposed to be, get to be the God of Thunder again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so epic. That's the definition of epic. You look up epic in the dictionary, you find this scene, and Gandalf going, "You shall not pass." Two of the most epic moments in cinematic history. Like, good God.
We're not even to Endgame yet.
Here's a thing that I just thought of right now. Is Groot's real name Tree? Because Thor speaks Groot.
Yeah.
And when he introduces Groot to Captain America, he says, "This is my friend, Tree."
Well, it's very simple, Jackson. His first name is Tree. His middle name is Tree. And his last name is obviously Tree.
Yeah. So
or it's just Thor doesn't know and he calls people by the wrong names all the time.
Yeah, but
like rabbit. Who knows? But it may be true. Groot means just tree. Which is fun, which is a very fun. Like, I completely buy it if that is if that is his real name.
They don't tell Thor.
It's canon to me.
Thor doesn't know the real name of Groot. Sorry, when you said that, it made me think of Scotty Doesn't Know from Euro.
Euro, the only legacy thing from Euro Trip. Like, the only thing that's
what a legacy. I mean,
movie.
An instant classic of a song. And like, everybody knew it. I saw it in the theater and I was like, oh man, this song is a banger.
Outlived that movie's like 22 years old now. It is still going.
Dude, I saw a comment on the song for that on YouTube for that song, and somebody said, "It's been past 20 years now. Somebody gotta tell Scotty."
Someone has to.
But it's so
well, after that song performance, Scotty did know, and that's the entire rest of the movie happened.
But that's the fun. Well, that's the crazy thing about that song, and it's so catchy. But like, the dude straight up telling the world,
it's hilarious.
We're kidding on. He's cheating on his best friend with his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our episode on Euro.
Oh, we gotta do scores. Scores.
All right, yeah, I guess we got to score this movie and then get on to our 2 other movies.
All right, so now we're at score, and I'll start with you, Eric. What is your filmmaking score and your theme score adding up to your overall score?
Filmmaking score is 5. It's a 5 out of 5. I don't know how else to not score it a 5 out of 5. And theme score, I will say, I do love this as a Thanos movie. But to me, I love Endgame a little more as far as like the heart of everything. I don't know. I go back and forth on it, so it's like a 4 for me, I think, in theme.
Yeah.
I'm on 9.
What about you, Jackson?
I'm gonna have to just go the same as Eric. Yeah, 5 on filmmaking because, like I said earlier, this movie should not work.
Yeah,
it is like an incredible machine of a movie, and I don't want to make it sound like it is like that makes it like less artful when I say machine. I'm just saying there's so many moving parts, and anything could have made this a disaster.
Right.
I mean, we've seen this in countless blockbusters. I mean, I didn't see The Flash, but y'all did. And I heard what y'all said about it, and it sounded like that's exactly what this movie could have been, and yet it works beautifully. So
all right, so I'm gonna be pulling an original.
And then theme for the same reasons, I'd say a 4. So.
Okay. So filmmaking 4.5 because just the Herculean tax of putting all these stories and characters together. Just wow, this makes my brain hurt. And then theme score, I'm gonna go 4.5. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you could talk about. So that gives us a 9, and the official
9. It's a 9 over.
It's a 9.
Yeah.
9.
It's a full on 9.
Yeah, not bad. That's not bad at all.
Pretty good.
And then now let's move in to Ant-Man and the Wasp. In the plot summary for Ant-Man and the Wasp, according to the Internet Movie Database, as Scott Lang balances being both a superhero and a father, Hope Van Dyne and Hank Pym present an urgent new mission that finds the Ant-Man fighting alongside the Wasp to uncover secrets from the past.
That makes this movie sound way more serious than it is.
It is not very serious, yeah.
No.
So, how long have you been Ant-Man again?
Not long. It just sort of happened.
I wish I could fight bad guys like you.
I seem to mess it up almost every time.
Maybe you just need someone watching your back. Hi. Like a partner.
Dr. Pym, I actually heard what happened to you. You opened up the quantum realm. That's when this crazy creepy ghost who walks through walls and stuff. Stole your tech. And now she wants to take over the world or whatever. Who would have believed that in your hour of need, you would turn to us?
Not me.
Because we robbed you. Do you remember? That's us.
The only chance we've got is both of you. Ant-Man and the Wasp teaming up.
Follow my lead.
She seems more intense.
Get loose now.
No.
So
This
overall
movie's
about this movie. I'll start with you, Eric.
this movie's a lot of fun. If you like the first Ant-Man movie, it's kind of more of the same. But I think it's a better movie because it doesn't have to do all the unpacking of an origin story. So you can kind of live with these characters a little more. And you already kind of understand who they are. So it's really just like better character development. The villain's a little better this time around, and I don't know, it's fun. It's fun. You get more Michael Pena, and that's all that matters.
What about you, Jackson? What are your quick thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the word that comes to mind is this movie is a palate cleanser for Infinity War, because Infinity War ends such a bleak you know, just
this
gut
one
punch.
does too in the mid credit scene.
Yes, but the whole movie leading up to that
Right,
is just
yeah.
like, oh, let's go on a silly caper with our favorite sort of idiot hero.
Man-child. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Not an idiot. He's very intelligent, but sometimes he seems like an idiot because
Right.
he's so immature.
So my quick thoughts about this movie is, with that first Ant-Man, it's a lot of fun. There's not a lot of real substance to it. It is really long towards the end. I, for one, do not like the villain. I think this villain has the opposite problem that the older Marvel villains did pre like Ragnarok, where those villains were played by like the actors playing them were very searing chewing, but the backstory wasn't really there. This one had the backstory, but you don't really remember. I don't remember.
That brings up the question: like, are you considering Ghost to be the villain of the movie?
Right.
Okay, well, if you're considering Lawrence Fishburne the villain of the movie, I don't remember.
No, but what about Walton Goggins?
Walton Goggins is the villain of the movie.
He's the actual villain of the movie, and he's kind of just like,
okay,
he's not very threatening at all, but he's fun to watch because it's Walton Goggins.
I love Walton Goggins.
Doing that metric, like, he's a little bit better than Corey Stoll's, but like not by much, because like I don't like, what was his deal? I don't remember.
He's just trying to get the technology. That's all he wants.
Just wants it.
Like he just wants it. Like, and it's the same motivation that Corey Stoll has.
100%.
I think Corey Stoll is more villainous because, as I said when we talked about that movie, Corey Stoll does the darkest thing that any villain in the Marvel universe has done, which is turn that dude into a little like ooze booger and then flush him down the toilet.
Well, you gotta remember that after this, we got Ego and the Grand.
The high evolutionary. That's true. So, but up to that point, like Corey Stoll, like. Yeah, the character, the way it's written, doesn't have a lot of personality, except he does that one thing, and that makes him very threatening. For the rest of it. Plus, the yellow jacket armor at the end looks really cool and scary.
It does.
So but
I do love Walton Goggins.
I love the setup scene of Hope and Hank trying to get back their mother/wife. I thought that was real cool, and it's really cool to see Michelle Pfeiffer back in the superhero role, because one of her most famous roles is Catwoman, and some would argue the best Catwoman.
Maybe.
Yeah, she's got some stiff competition, but yeah, she's great.
But, I'm still between her and Zoe Kravitz. Like, I think Michelle Pfeiffer is more fun to watch, but Kravitz is more comic accurate.
So in the first Ant-Man movie, we were never wasn't Michelle Pfeiffer wasn't in the first Ant-Man movie.
She was never shown.
No, but they told
but
you're told the backstory, like what happened.
Right, and every time you see her, but they're in suit.
She's in the suit, so you don't actually see the actor's face. No,
but
it was a big get when they got Michelle Pfeiffer for this movie, because you know she's very choosy about what she does these days.
So then we learned that Scott Lang is under house arrest, and he's trying to do little things to entertain himself and his daughter Cassie. I got to say, they cast the perfect actress to play Cassie.
She is so cute. Like, she's the cutest kid in the whole world.
That, but in Endgame, when she's older, dude, this little girl looks so much like Catherine Newman. It is insane. I thought it was Catherine Newman, the actor that played the older version of her.
Yeah, but then there was one in between. Like in Endgame, it's somebody totally different.
Oh yeah, no, it's completely different from Quantum Realm.
Oh,
like,
it's really?
Quantum Mania.
Yeah, Endgame, because she only has one scene in Endgame. Okay, like, he shows up at the door and she comes up, and they hug, and then she's out of the movie. But then they totally recast her for Quantum Mania.
Yeah, well, it also helps that I went to go see Lisa Frankenstein and Abigail, and
she's on a tear right now. She's great.
Yeah,
she's got the horror comedy genre like in her pocket.
Yeah,
Freaky. She was really good in Freaky too.
Freaky, yeah.
I still need to watch that. But
it's terrific. Yeah,
I'm sure I will love it. But her face is like fresh in my mind, to seeing this little girl who's just absolutely adorable, and I'm like, I kept thinking it was Catherine Newman, but it's not.
It's not. No.
Yeah, but they cast, but yeah, that was a good call to get Catherine Newman in Quantum Media.
Cassie is such a it's hard to do a kid character.
Mhm.
They're either going to be boring or they're going to be annoying a lot of the time, but they imbue her with just the right qualities and cast just the right kid to where she's just a joy to watch anytime she's on screen. Like I love like little character touches. Like I love how she loves gross stuff.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
any other kid sees a giant ant running around the
He's like,
house
"Ew."
and they're scared, but she's just delighted by the giant ant.
Well, that's the thing about it with kid actors is either because there's only like there's like two type of like performances kid actors typically do. It's usually like cute ones like this or Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, and that can get real annoying real quick. Or it can just be the most adorable thing you've seen. Or it can be real serious, like Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, or the kid from The Ring. Yeah,
and that's
the kid that's
it's
like
really
haunted and
right. It's really just the roles that people write for these kids. Is that kids almost always get typecast into like certain just slots.
Yeah, but Cassie seems like a real kid. Yeah,
which is a nice breath of fresh air. Which is another reason why I kind of like this movie over the first one.
But the thing
it feels like we just expand on everyone.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the thing that could be the problem with a dramatic performance for a kid actor is it can be so dramatic where it doesn't feel like a kid. But Haley Joel Osment from Sixth Sense feels like an authentic child.
Going through He's really good. He's really good in that movie.
Anyways, Scott makes maze for her with like these ants out cardboard, and Lewis, Michael Pena characters involved in it, and that's a lot of fun. And then they go down a slide.
They have that big slide at the end.
Yeah. And then
which is what I always wanted as a kid. I always wanted a giant cardboard maze with a slide at the end of it.
Yep. And this movie made you fully realize that dream.
I know.
And so
now my whole house is a maze.
So anyway, they go down the slide and out to the backyard, and then the leg that his ankle bracelet is on is out the fence. And so that's when you find out that he's under house arrest because of the events of Civil War. And then the FBI or the government comes in, and the main guy is
played by John Krasinski.
What?
That's people on the internet will get that, even if you don't, Drew. It is like a deep office joke.
Yes.
I'll explain it later. Let's just move on.
Keep going.
Okay.
Just had to make the joke.
So the FBI comes in, and one of the agents is Agent Rue, played by comedian Randall Park. And I love when Cassie asks this character why are they bothering her dad, and his response is priceless because he says this must all seem like a bunch of confusing grown-up stuff to you, huh? Well, think of it this way. The school has rules, right? Like you can't draw on the walls. Well, your daddy went to Germany and drew on the walls with Captain America, and that was a violation of Article 16, Paragraph 3 of the Sokovia Accord, and he goes on this long
this whole thing.
I just love it.
And then the punchline I love is like, Scott's like, you're really good with kids. He's like, thanks. I'm also a youth pastor. And you get I love the little runner of this where like Agent Wu, he's got a job to do and he has to keep Scott under house arrest, but he also really likes Scott and thinks Scott's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I like how the stepdad of Cassie likes Scott now. I love that.
That's one of the best things in this movie is like it shows like a sort of weird family situation, but it doesn't have to be weird. Like they're still a family.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
and it's just normal. It's just the same thing a lot of people go through where parents get divorced and they go off and get married to other people and
yeah. Well, that's the thing about it. If you go back to the first Ant-Man, that character in a weird way kind of always liked Scott and was hoping for him because when he
Yeah.
gets arrested
Yeah.
for stealing the original Ant-Man costume, like he's like, man, Scott, I was hoping for you this time.
Right. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
always been a nice guy, but in the first movie, like Scott is still getting in trouble. But in this case, like Scott is in trouble, but for a reason that I guess is more understandable. Because he was,
Right.
I don't know, helping Captain America. And who
America,
doesn't
yeah.
love Captain America, you know?
But it's also like a nice like twist on that. Most movies that set up a parent, like a natural born parent, like a natural parent, and then like a step parent, stepdad, they're always antagonistic towards each other.
Right.
And so it's a nice like turn on that doesn't feel like the same thing we've seen in countless movies
and
from now on.
And you love Cassie so much that you're glad that like her mom
She has
married a really nice
two
guy
loving dads. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right. Well, I just love Paul Rudd in general.
yeah.
What I love how Scott does magic in this movie. I thought that was again. Well, I think the whole thing of this episode is just like little character moments like that.
Oh yeah.
And
it's one of those things, that he picks up while he's like trapped at home. Sorry, go ahead.
Right.
Well, I think watching these 3 movies and analyzing them and talking about them made me really realize I love those. I love that. I mean, we can go back to the first one, the whole pizza thing with Iron Man. I think that's kind of just
yeah. And he plays the drums on this like dinky little like electronic kit, so it doesn't make any noise and disturb the neighbors or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and he reads Fault in My Stars and he starts crying. I'm assuming that story is sad. I haven't read the book or.
I've never read that book, but I've read other books by John Green, and they are definitely very emotional.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good books though. I endorse John Green as a novelist. Yeah.
And then I love the action scene where Hope Van Dyne takes out Walter Goggins' goon. I thought that was real. Where they kind of mapped that whole thing out was real cool.
Yeah. And it's nice to see like she gets to do stuff in this movie. After the first movie where she's just like, but I want to go and do the thing. And they're like, no, Hope, you can't go do harumph. And it turns out that she's better at doing the thing than he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, I love Evangeline Lilly as an actress. Loved her character a lot.
Yeah.
And in Real Steel and in here, I gotta say, she is smoking hot in that Wasp costume. Like, whoo, whoo. That's all I gotta say.
Well, let's go back to our initial questions. Like, okay, do you really think that Ghost is a villain in this movie? Because I don't see her as a villain.
I think it's set up initially that she is, but I think the reveal, but I mean, I think that's your like your typical Marvel like reversal almost.
Yeah.
No, I mean Walton Goggins is your real villain of the movie. Just like what's his name was in the first Ant-Man movie, but no, Ghost has a very like kind of tragic backstory. Which is nice. It's a nice like change of pace for the Ant-Man movies, at least, is that who we set up as a villain doesn't become the villain, and so like it gives them a nice backstory. I don't know. There's just a lot more character development that happens in this movie than it did in the first one.
Right. Okay, well, we answered that question then.
Done.
Next subject.
Well, here's the thing. I gotta make a confession. I actually fell asleep in the middle of this movie, and I didn't feel like that forwarding or do it.
Rewinding.
Rewinding, whatever.
Yeah. No, that's fair. This is still the best Ant-Man movie, in my opinion.
I think so too, yeah.
Compared to like Quantumania, which is like the low of the low for me. And the first Ant-Man movie is fun. It's great. It's a good time. This just feels like it takes everything and like expands upon it in some ways.
I do love the music more here in this movie. But the music is
like
awesome.
The score.
Yeah, the score.
Yeah.
And the score's amazing here. It's very kind of like futuristic, jazzy. Because I felt like the first one's more kind of jazzy. but this one like really embraces like the sci-fi nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of Ant-Man and really does like weird sci-fi kind of sound with the score.
The other thing that this movie and the first one does too, but the third movie just abandons is you get all these wonderful little side characters that are just in a few scenes, like Michael Pena and what's his name, David Desmalchian or whatever.
Yep.
Where he's just like the Baba Yaga. Yeah, everything is about the Baba Yaga.
Well, I love how that's funny too, but I love how Hank Pym is like the angry, grumpy grandpa in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the look on his face when he realizes that Scott actually kept the Ant-Man suit, and he's like, "You kept the Ant-Man suit?"
Well, he keeps going back and forth on that too. It's just like, tell me you destroyed the suit. And he's like, yeah, I destroyed the suit. You destroyed the suit? That was my life's work. You just can't please Hank Pym in this movie. The other thing about this movie that I think sets it above the first one, and certainly the third one, is it has more fun set pieces in it.
Yes.
Like the first one has a couple, but this one has like little set pieces, like when they go to the school and they have to get the Ant-Man suit out of the little trophy, and he gets stuck like in between modes and basically has to pretend to be a little kid. And then they start treating him like a little kid. She's like, "Oh, you can do it. Go for it, buddy. Come on."
Yeah, and then when he goes back into the van, Hank goes, "Hey, champ, how was school today?"
Yeah.
Want a juice box?
Some string cheese? Yeah.
You want string cheese? Yeah. No, and that is the best part about Ant-Man is that you have to have that context of the real world. This is why Quantumania doesn't work.
Right.
Is that, you know, like there's an oversized Pez in this movie and there's a tiny like child-size Ant-Man in the real world. It's that you need that scale. It's like when people hold a dollar up to like hail, you know what I mean? Like a hail-sized stone, you know. You need to know the context of how big something is. Well,
I also think now that you say that if they would have had part of that movie take place in the real world and then the final climactic part in the quantum world, it would have been so much better.
Sure. I mean, I don't know narratively what that movie would look like. Like, I don't know what the plot of that movie would be, but yeah, I mean, that's what makes these first two movies work so well, is that they're just little low stakes capers. Like, Ant-Man, I mean, yes, when it gets to Endgame, Ant-Man is incredibly important because he's the one that comes up with the idea for how they can defeat Thanos. But like they need to, like the Ant-Man movies just need to be low stakes in that way.
They're like you said earlier, they're palate cleansers. Like from the bigger MCU.
The one other thing we can talk about is Lawrence Fishburne in this movie as the Goliath, and he had the power to go big, and apparently he didn't go as big as Scott, and so they do a whole like comparing sizes bit. Pretty funny. And then gets to Hope, and he said, "Okay, if you guys are done comparing sizes."
Which if I gotta ding this movie a little bit, it's like, you know, you cast somebody like Lawrence Fishburne and then you don't really give them much of anything to do.
Yeah.
Like it would have been cool to just give him like another scene or two where he had something other than just being like kind of an exposition machine.
Right. This movie is a little stretched thin in its I guess it's like setup of like villains and everything, because you've kind of got like, you know, you've got like Lawrence Fishburne, you've got like Walton Goggins, you've got like Ghost, you just got like too much stuff going on. It feels a little scattershot in some ways, but
yeah. And then there are some leaps the movie makes. Like last night when I was watching it, I was like, you know, they say something, you know, well, for one thing, you get the whole truth serum scene.
Oh yeah.
It's like, is that truth serum? Is that truth serum? It's not truth serum. Which is really funny. But then you know, they end up telling him that that they're out in the woods, and then Ghost shows up and she's like, the woods, and then she disappears. It's like, okay, by the woods he means the redwood forest outside of San Francisco, which is enormous. So I think you would have to be more specific because she immediately finds them in quote unquote the woods. So that's a little bit of lazy screenwriting, but whatever. It's fine. It's an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
All right. So
Not too demanding. Not too demanding. Not too. If you don't think too hard, they're perfectly fun and fine.
Right.
Palate cleansers. Yeah.
All right. If you got nothing else to say, you ready to get the favorite part and least favorite part?
Yeah, we don't have to spend much time on this movie.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Eric. What is your favorite part of this movie?
I don't know. My favorite part of any anime movie is just its side characters. Mostly, Michael Pena, David Dash. I can't ever.
That's Malshin, I believe. Is how you say it.
Malshin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him.
all the side characters, and even like the new ones we introduce. Those that's always my favorite part of these anime movies. It's really kind of what makes the movie is like Paul Rudd's very charming and super engaging, but like it's how he interacts with all these other characters that always makes it for me.
One thing I didn't mention, we talked about Walton Goggins a little bit. One thing that's funny about his character is
Walton Goggins. Yeah,
Walton Goggins in real life has a Southern accent. And yet he is still doing a fake Southern accent in this movie for reasons that I cannot fathom.
Just a choice. And they were like, you know what? Go with it.
Yeah.
What about you, Jax? Oh,
what did he say his least favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, least favorite. It's a little scattershot, like I said earlier. There may be like too many things going on that don't quite all like connect together just right. But it's super fun, and I love all the miniature stuff. Like the whole like Hot Wheels car selection they have. Like all those things are super fun. But yeah, it's a little scattershot, but it's not as bad as Quantumania, so still pretty great.
All right, what about you, Jackson? What is your favorite part and your least favorite part?
Favorite part, I think it's got to be where they go to the school. Just all the little gags. I just find it fun. Just the way he's running around in that oversized hoodie, like, and the teacher sees him. And it's like, hey, do you have a hall pass? And then the teacher just gives up immediately. It's like,
whatever.
Yeah, don't pay me enough to chase a kid. Least favorite part. Okay. And I was thinking about this I've thought about this with some of the other movies. Like, why can't we have a 90-minute Marvel movie? Like, this is the perfect candidate to just be like an easy breezy 90-minute Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And yet it just, I don't know, they carry it on for like 2 hours and it's just it's like still fun, but it just goes on for a while, you know.
Yeah, like I said, much like this episode.
Yeah, but we're talking about 3 movies, and one of them is Infinity War. So, and I think there's actually more to say about this next movie, but yeah,
for sure.
Right.
And then I'll go to my favorite part and least favorite part. My favorite part got to be Paul Rudd. I know it's an easy answer, but I just love that man so much. Least favorite part, like what you say, Jackson, is too long. But that's that. Let's do score. I'll start with you, Jackson. What is your filmmaking score?
Filmmaking, I'd go like, I think the actual filmmaking in this is really good. Like, all the set pieces are really well thought out and clever and have lots of fun gags. So I'll give it a 4 on filmmaking.
Okay. And then what about your theme score?
Oh, this movie's not really about much of anything. I'll give it like a 1.5. It's fun, but it has no, if anything, the substance and stuff you bring to it, like, you know, it's nice to see this sort of modern family situation with, you know, but that's not really what the movie's about. So I can't give it too high marks for that.
Okay, so that made your overall score
5.5.
5.5?
Yeah.
All right.
Which sounds like I don't enjoy the movie. I do, but yeah.
Right, what about you?
Right,
Eric?
but I mean, it's just like light entertainment. And not every Marvel movie, like,
right.
I feel like after Endgame, everyone built it up. It's like every Marvel movie has to outdo every other Marvel movie. Yeah, they weren't doing that before. And so I think this is a nice reminder that they did do lighter, smaller movies. And so I would say, you know, filmmaking wise, I think it's everything is well executed, like you were saying. Everything looks pretty good for the most part. They're clearly we're spending a lot more money and time on Infinity War than they were on this movie.
I mean, the
some
effects on
respects.
Ghost alone are pretty
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very effective design, and the way they use the sort of phase matter effects, and you see little echoes of her as she's moving around, like very cool.
This sort of like prism of like light. No, I would say I'd probably give it a 4, filmmaking wise, just in the technical aspects of like the movie itself and how it was made. But theme wise, it's probably 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your score would be 7, right? No,
7?
5.5. It's his
5.5.
He has the same
5.5.
score as I do. We're doing the same scores all night tonight.
All the way through.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go filmmaking 4, because what guys were saying. Cool stuff with the effects. Theme, I'm gonna go a little bit higher, a lot higher. I'm gonna go 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we'll get to the 7, and let's see what the official score
gives theme a 3, but it doesn't explain why he gives theme a 3.
No, because I like the whole thing with family.
Yeah,
like it's not too deep, but it's there enough. Like, because you got this family with these 2 scientists, Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne, and then you have
true. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that much at all, but
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's cool.
We probably should have just did Infinity War by itself. In hindsight, we probably just, because I feel like we spent a long time on that, and now we're kind of like, hey, Ant-Man, it's fine, it's fun.
All right. So the official or Sci-Fi Beyond score for Ant-Man and the Wasp is 6.
Yeah, that's
pretty.
That's
pretty
about right.
accurate.
Yeah.
All right. So you ready for Captain Marvel?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's jump right in.
And the plot summary for Captain Marvel, according to the Internet Movie Database, Carol Danvers becomes one of the universe's most powerful heroes when Earth is caught in the middle of a galactic war between 2 alien races.
So, Skrulls are the bad guys. And you're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
Your life began the day it nearly ended. We found you. With no memory, we made you one of us. So you could live longer, stronger, superior. You were reborn.
I keep having these memories. Something in my past is the key to all of this.
You know how to fly this thing?
We'll see.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
All right, Eric, what is your quick thoughts about this movie?
I remember hearing people hating on this movie long before it even came out. And then I saw it and I was just like, it's pretty good. It's fine. It wasn't nearly as bad as like the internet buzz made it out to be. It's a perfectly well made 90s romp, and the de-aging in the movie actually looks really good, especially compared to like The Irishman.
Yeah, it's because Sam Jackson, like, he looks really good for his age.
That's true too. That is true too.
And so they probably didn't have to do as much work on him as they would have to on Robert De Niro.
That's true as well. But yeah, no, I think it's a fun like entry into this character. It's a perfectly solid origin story that has some problems, but you know, whatever.
What about you, Jackson?
I've seen this movie several times over the years. When it first came out, I was a little bit more on the negative side. I didn't hate it or anything, but I was just like, I don't know. I was a little disappointed in it, particularly after coming off of Infinity War and then Ant-Man, which is a lot of fun. And I thought this movie was a little boring, but I like it more every time I see it. Like, it has just grown, and I'm not gonna put it still in the top tier of Marvel, but it has risen in my estimation every time I've watched it, because I'll pick up on little things, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
My quick thoughts is I really enjoyed this, but much like Black Panther, it took me a few watches. And I haven't watched it as much as Black Panther, but it took me some watches to really appreciate it. And I actually really like this movie, despite all the controversy surrounding it over.
The controversy is so stupid.
Yeah, like that's the thing.
Stupidest controversy. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I agree with what Brie Larson was saying, or I agree with what she was saying in regards to like more diverse film critics, but how she said it, wasn't the biggest standout. Like the word she chose specifically.
Yeah.
When she said, "I don't need some 40-year-old white film critic to tell me what didn't work for them in Wrinkle of Time, it wasn't made for them." I'm like, okay, can you not have an opinion about a movie? If it's negative, like even if it's negative, like I think that's a little.
The sentiment of what she is getting towards is very valid.
That I agree with. But I'm not going to hang on that particular thing, and I'm not going to nitpick every single thing that she says, like some of these people on YouTube want to do.
I think that's the biggest problem with just like fandom in this era of the internet, is that everybody hangs on every little bit and for like spoilers and everything, and so it becomes less about the movies themselves and more about everything surrounding them. And Marvel's really fallen into that as well, as far as like all of the TV shows and everything that kind of like goes into it. I don't know. To me, it's, the movie stands on its own 2 feet. That's all that really matters.
Yeah, and that's what I ultimately did going into this the first time, and even this time. It's like that was years ago when she said that.
Yeah.
Probably, I would imagine she saw her say that, like repeat it, or she, in hindsight, heard herself say that, and it was like, yeah, that's probably not what I quite meant to say. But
I'm not going to speculate on what she thinks about anything. That would be wrong to do.
Yeah,
I will say, okay, a lot of the controversy surrounding this movie is just more indicative of the problem of superhero movies up until this point in time. Is that they didn't have women headlining these types of movies, even though there's plenty of characters in the comics that they could have done. Like, it took them forever to make a Wonder Woman movie, and then that came out. It was a good movie, and people really liked it.
Oh, I love Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's amazing.
And this movie's not quite as good as that one. I like certain things about it more than that one, but it doesn't quite work as well. But I think, when you don't have that kind of representation in a movie, the movies that do that are going to come under a lot more unfair scrutiny because of it.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then people were saying that it was going to bomb because of the character that they never heard of.
Yeah.
Which, how many characters have you had that for?
They said the same thing about like Guardians though before.
Yeah,
they were like, "This is going to bomb. No one knows this movie." Yeah, no one knows who these characters are.
And then of course the sequel actually did bomb, which is unfortunate because I think the sequel's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of watched that a little bit. It seemed pretty cool.
I just really love Kamala Khan. I mean, she's a star.
Yeah,
she's the reason to watch that movie.
Well, I didn't watch her show, but the little I know about that character from playing
Miss Marvel's, the TV show is a lot of fun as well.
Solid show, yeah, and it's got maybe my favorite episode from single episode from any of the Marvel shows.
Yeah. But I think the little I've seen of her from that movie and then playing the Avengers video game, like I'm like, oh, this is kind of like us. Like we're giant fans of these superheroes, and then to get to be one of these heroes,
right?
I think that's really neat. So I definitely need to go back and finish watching the Marvels. But let's get into the deep dive. because I like how this movie is kind of like Memento in a way, where it's
Yeah.
all out of order.
Or the Bourne Identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fractured timeline, fractured memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's already a badass.
Right.
Mhm.
Like, it's not she's slowly learning that she's a badass.
Sure.
It wasn't
Not a
that she's
full, not a
badass.
fully, yeah, but
Yeah.
getting there.
Well, wait. So let me start over. So Jason Bourne was a badass assassin, lost his memory, and he's slowly figuring it out. Carol Danvers is a regular person who lost her memory, and then it's just all of a sudden a badass. So it's kind of a little different, but
A
similar.
little different, but it's still like, it's still
Yeah.
somebody
Person who lost-
trying to piece together their own life.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, the movie starts out on a flashback, and then Carol Danvers goes to Jude Law's character and tells him that she can't sleep. And then he asks her, she's been taking her sleeping pills or her tabs? And then her response is, I'll be sleeping. And then his response is, the dreams again. And then she's haunted by her past. And I actually really like that little moment, the dreams again. It sets up so much of like the mystery of this character. Which I thought was really interesting. And I was sitting there, the first time I'm watching this, and I'm both really confused, but also really intrigued. I'm like, this is not your traditional like superhero origin story where they're a regular person in the very beginning of the movie, and then they
Right.
Yeah, this is different. And then like you learn about like this war between the Kree and the Skrulls, and I love the Skrulls. Like I love any like we talked about in the T2 review. I think we all love
Shapeshifters are always fun.
Yeah.
As a character,
Skrulls are, from what I understand, are really a big deal in the comics. Like that's it's like one of the Fantastic Four's greatest adversaries are the Skrulls. If I remember correctly from stuff I've heard offhand. And then you had this whole thing where Danvers acts emotional rather than with intelligence. And I thought that was really interesting. For that for this kind of character. And it's almost like it's funny because she's a fighter pilot in the Air Force. It's almost kind of like Maverick from Top Gun.
Sure.
We got this character who is a really damn good pilot, but he just thinks on the seat of the pants.
She's like a soul skater.
Yeah.
That is a Brink reference, y'all.
Oh, really?
Disney Channel original
movie. Brink. But like they just do stuff.
To all three people who are listening to this at this point in the 3 hours,
and maybe one of them understands that reference.
Right?
They're like, Brink.
Yeah, I got that reference.
Yeah,
but no. Anyways, like this two characters that just do stuff. Where Maverick does it out of rebellion, where Carol does it out of emotion, and they do these things without thinking about the consequences. I thought that was really interesting, and
I think it's also something to unpack from her being a female character and like sort of denying her emotions, in beyond just even the human aspects of it. I don't know. I mean, I think there's something there just in the sense that they are trying to keep a person, her connection to her past is her humanity. And so if they deny her that, then they keep her from realizing the scope of everything that's happened to her. And really, she's probably the most powerful Marvel hero in some ways.
She's the Superman of this universe.
Yeah. And so like they have to like keep her like tamper down because they're like, they can kill all of us. Yeah.
And I think that's really what the meat of this movie is about. It's about control. It's about trying to control other people and get them, they brainwash her basically. and then spend the whole movie gaslighting her into believing certain things about herself and the way she's supposed to be.
Right.
Whereas what makes her the great hero that she
Not
becomes
only that,
is
but
to
they
defy what they are trying to do.
Yeah, but not only that, they brainwashed her to think these things about the scrolls.
About the Skrulls, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole movie's about control and emotion. It's really interesting. And then I love how they tell their backstory where she's kidnapped by the scrolls. And then
that's a great sequence.
Yeah,
where they're sort of like
so cool.
exploring her memories that she doesn't even realize she has.
Yeah,
but that's how she starts to piece it together because they go poking around in her brain.
Yeah, and then you hear Ben Mendelsohn's character like in the background. They're like, those scrolls, and you see all these times where she acted out on emotion. And I love the part when she's in the bar with the other pilot, and the guy says, "You're a decent pilot, but you act on emotion." And then it cuts to him, and he says, "What do you think called a cockpit?"
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but like that's one of those moments where like it's kind of necessary because it kind of establishes.
Yeah, I mean you got to have a guy say something like that in this movie.
Sure.
Yeah,
because it really digs into what this movie is exploring as far as control and also like gender politics and
gender roles and all that.
And I guess that's the other thing about this movie is like Wonder Woman doesn't really explore this.
Yeah.
It does a little bit, you know, you have the people at like the British High Command or whatever, and they're like, oh, she's a woman, you know, but this movie's like really about this. And of course, you know, who is the one that's exercising all of this control over her? It's Jan Rog. It's a dude.
Yep.
It's a pretty succinct metaphor, I would say. It might be a little too on the nose, but I kind of don't care.
It's pretty on the nose, but I don't care as well. Yeah.
Because I like that it's exploring that.
Well, and that's the thing I like about this movie is between like you really liked all the Top Gun kind of all Marzi kind of stuff. Like it just I don't know. It got me excited for Top Gun Maverick sequel. Watching all the stuff.
Did you watch this? Did you watch this and then just watch Top Gun Maverick?
It's not an episode of this show until Drew brings up Top Gun Maverick.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love Top Gun. Top Gun Maverick. Fablemans. But anyways, I also love the soundtrack to this movie. Like it's pretty amazing. You got freaking like Garbage in here, which isn't garbage. Whole Celebrity Skin. I love that song so much.
Yeah, it's fun. I do have one nitpick about the soundtrack. Okay, so, and this is like towards the end of the movie where she goes to visit the what's the thing, the high consciousness or
whatever it's called.
I don't remember what it's called. The AI that the Kree
that Benny's character.
Yes.
Yeah.
She goes in there and it's playing the song "Come As You Are." And then she starts talking about like her memories that she's been recovered. Now, Carol Danvers crashed her plane in 1989. That song is from 1991. Carol Danvers would not know that song.
It's true.
Yeah. I will say
it's the stupidest thing to nitpick, but I had to bring it up because it bothered me.
But it's also just like it is like the top hits from the decade. Like I would have wanted a few more like deep dives or something. I don't know. That is also a nitpick as well.
You got to bring in James Gunn to pick out the soundtrack if you want.
No, it's true.
If you want the really cool,
right? It's like the Forrest Gump soundtrack of like superhero movies.
I'll be honest with you, that might be my favorite Nirvana song. It feels more 90s.
It's a great song. I don't have a problem with the song. It's just it doesn't make sense to be used in the context that it's used in the movie.
Well, I just like how more 90s it feels than Smell Like Teen Spirit. Just let that opening riff out. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, but it should be a song from the late 80s that's playing.
No, I'm just saying. I'm talking about why I like the song. I don't care.
This is my version of why does the Terminator disappear after the car crash? Which we devoted a full half hour to on that episode.
And then I think the escape scene after she's unlocking her memories, that's when that to me, that's when the movie like got fun. Because the movie wasn't really fun in the beginning. I'm trying to figure out like what's going on, but that escape scene is so much fun.
Yeah, it's a pretty talky movie for a Marvel movie. There's not really that many action scenes,
right? But
it's pretty brisk. I mean, we're just a little over 2 hours. We're about the same length that, if I'm not wrong, that Ant-Man wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then she lands in a blockbuster, and then she sees a standee of True Lies and so
I was trying to make out, but then the shot gets all out of focus in that. You know, they pull a focus on that, and you can't make out the. I saw Legends of the Fall. What's the other poster? You see a big poster for something. I can't remember what it was now.
There's gotta be Jurassic Park in there. They gotta be.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, if it's Legends of the Fall, I mean, it's all in 93, so.
Oh, yeah. True Lies is the big poster, but then you also see a copy of Last Action Hero on the shelf. So
it's
that
funny because there's a video store scene in Last Action.
In Last Action, right. Where they go and it's the Terminator.
Right.
Terminator 2. He's really
There's also there's a deleted scene where they go into a blockbuster in Legends of the Fall. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
Really?
They're really old and they complain a lot. No. It didn't work well for test audiences, so they cut it.
Yeah, what do they have in the blockbuster? Freaking Nosferatu.
Yeah, something I don't know.
They check out film reels and they bring them home to their mansion.
The Birth of a Nation. They probably had that one in there. And his follow-up film, Intolerance.
Intolerance. I'm gonna make up for all the wrongs I did in my last movie.
And then I love how Carol goes up to the cop and asks him where she can find a communication device while What a Man by Salt and Pepper is playing. This is amazing. And I love seeing 90s Sam Jackson, and that's just funny.
Yeah.
And this is when she's calling, she's trying to call like home base, you know, for the Kree.
Right.
And then if you notice, posters in the background are for bands like Buzz, REM, The Smashing Pumpkins, and 311. Bands you probably all listened to back in the day.
Right. Well, she wears a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then a Heart t-shirt also in the movie. So
Guns N' Roses at some point.
Movies
I think there's Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. Movie's just full of member berries. Like this whole movie is just like, oh, look at all of this.
Dude, I gotta say,
you remember this? You love it.
Yeah. She looked good in that 9 Inch Nails shirt. And I'm not even a fan of that band, but it makes it look good.
Yeah, it's cool. And she does the 90s thing, tie the flannel around her waist and the cool leather jacket and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. I love how Stan Lee is on the train reading the script for Mallrats.
Really
funny.
Chef's Kiss. My favorite joke in the movie.
Because that movie would have come out the very next year.
Yeah.
Yep. From when this movie takes place. Yeah.
Right.
It would have been real funny if in Mallrats, Stan Lee tells Brody, I just met Captain Marvel. I could read to her.
Only Kevin Smith had the power of foresight. Yeah.
Your friend's a little bit preoccupied on superhero sex organs. I love that. But the one time this guy gets to meet Stan Lee, and that's what he talked about. This is so funny. Honestly, I thought, knowing me, that would be my question for Stan Lee.
Why not? Yeah.
Nothing but ankles and buttholes.
Yeah. Breath and come and go, Renee.
Oh goodness. Okay, and that's been our episode on Mallrats.
Thank you.
We got a deep dive on Mallrats and Eurotrip in this episode.
And then call back to our T2 review. Her stealing the bike is very similar to that movie. Like that's the thing. I think like what you're saying is just member berries. Like there's just little 90 things, and
it is a lot of that.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
I mean, it's kind of dumb, like because it's such an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's fine. They're just having fun with it. I mean, you know, none of the other Marvel movies really do that sort of thing. You know, not even Captain America, which is set in World War II, has that, because nobody's gonna do that for World War II. But
Right.
it's fine for this movie if it's set in the 90s to have just wall-to-wall 90s stuff.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Well,
doing
we do it too much with the 80s, and so like now the 90s is the new 80s, basically, is what it is. So and that's fine. This is fun. It's fun. Yeah. I mean, people have been doing it. Stranger Things have been doing it. Their entire the entire run has just been member berries for them. So like yeah.
Well, I love watching that show with my mom because it's like I'm learning stuff. It's like, oh, I used to watch that show back in the day. I used to have that back in the day. Like that's how I used to win VCR tapes. That's how we used to cook Eggo waffles.
Right.
Wait, you never rented VCR tapes? You never rented?
Yeah, I was just thinking about spurring them. All this is spurring the moment. Like I rented VCR tapes. I was at the tail end.
Okay.
I lived at the video store when I was in high school. Like
But
I was in there every day
be.
almost after school, like checking out, you know, this or
You
that.
could rent a tape. You could rent a tape for $1.
Right.
But but going back to movie references in this movie, I like how the autopsy scene with the scroll is very much Men in Black. The old man and then the little alien living inside of him. Yeah, the galaxy is on Orion's belt. I love how the cat in this movie is called a goose, like in Top Gun.
Sure.
Referring back to the fighter pilot aspect. A cool name for a cool cat.
Goose.
Nick Fury and his just absolute love of that cat.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It's very endearing.
Well, my little sister loves cats, and anytime Goose would do something cute in this movie, I would be like, "Honey, get in here!" But when you look at the credits, they use 4 cats for this movie, and 2 of them were named Rizzo and Gonzo.
Nice.
Yeah, like in the Muppets.
That's nice.
Real funny.
Yeah.
You're like, remember, guys, we own the Muppets too. We own everything. Disney.
Oh, Disney.
One of my favorite parts in this movie is when Carol meets up with her Air Force friend, Maria Rambo, and her daughter Monica. And they show pictures of her in the past, like Halloween, where she's dressed up as Amelia Earhart and James Joplin. And I love the speed editing as he's quickly absorbing all these memories. I love that. Yeah, that's something that you would not expect from a comic book movie, but it's in here.
Yeah. Plus, you have the just brilliant Lashana Lynch, who's kind of wasted in this movie.
Yeah. I wish they had done more with their relationship or their friendship, or rekindling that sort of thing that they lost. They do enough with it. They do just enough with it, but just I don't know. I wanted more by the end of it.
But it's like you've got this great actor in Lashana Lynch, and then you know they just sort of unceremoniously kill her off in WandaVision.
Yeah.
What else has she been in?
She was in one of the Bond. She was in the most recent Bond.
Oh,
movie.
I forgot.
She's the new 00.
Yeah.
In that, she's cool in that. She's in Matilda the musical.
Yeah.
She plays Miss Honey, and she's also an awesome singer. And giving a very different type of performance in that movie than she gives in this movie. She's got a lot of range as an actor.
Yeah, I need to watch Matilda the musical. I totally forgot she was in the last James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Controversy.
I really want to see her star kind of take off a little bit more, because I really like her as an actor.
Right, cool.
You think she went into this movie thinking that it was going to be just up from here? Like, I'm going to be in a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
and then
but of course,
they were like, we're going to kill you next episode.
But of course, this movie being set in the 90s, her character in the current MCU timeline would be super old.
That's true.
I mean, not super old, but in her 60s, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, it really wouldn't work. I don't know. It's just kind of disappointing to me that she's not better used in this movie. She gets a little bit to do. I mean, she's at least involved in the sort of climactic sequence.
Sure.
But
Yeah. Well, speaking of her being really good in this movie, despite the little screen time he has, another one of my favorite parts is when she tells Carol Danvers who she is, and he says, "You're Carol Danvers. You supported me as a pilot and as a mother when nobody else did. You are smart, funny, and a huge pain in the ass. And you're the most powerful person I know. Way before you could shoot fire from your fist." I love that. Like that's like that female power kind of thing, or not just like just like
human power. Yeah.
human power.
Yeah.
That is like it's that Rocky like like every Rocky movie had that inspirational like speech, like the character motivated.
Sure. And it always comes from someone they know. It always comes from someone who believes in them, even when they didn't believe in themselves.
Yeah. So basically,
it's good. It's really good.
Maria Rambo is Adrian in this moment.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. Or at least Polly.
Anyways, I love when her daughter Monica encouraged her mother to go on the mission with Carol.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love that. And she tells her, "What are you gonna do instead? Sit on the couch and watch Fresh Prince with me?" Give the example you're setting for your daughter, and that's always good. Like to have like a parent like being the good example. Again, that's the universal thing. It's not just a female empowerment theme. Thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you always want to. I hope my mom. I know my mom hopes that she's a good influence on me and my sister. I hope I'm a good influence on young kids that watch my episodes. I did get a little because you learn that the Kree are actually the bad guys. I got a little confused how Dr. Marvel, Annette Bene's character, is involved in all this.
Oh, you didn't understand that?
No, I know she's like a part of she's like a computer sentient.
Well, she's a Kree,
Yeah.
and she is actually rebelling against the Kree. She is trying to help the Skrulls. That's why when they find her like laboratory in space, all those Skrulls are hiding there because she's developing this. I mean, she's developing this light speed engine supposedly for the Kree so they can, do something to take out the Skrulls once and for all. But she's really doing it. She can help the Skrulls find a home world where they're out of reach from the Kree.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's a double agent throughout this thing. She's actually a really cool character. I like what's her name? Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel. I think so.
Marvel.
Yeah,
that's so silly.
I mean, I know
that's out of the comics though.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that whole history with Shazam and Captain Marvel. Yeah, we're not gonna get into that. Which is funny when Carol's going through the different costume colors, it's actually Shazam's colors.
Oh, does she do Shazam's colors at some point?
Oh. So if you don't know the history with that,
I do. I've heard about it.
Yeah. Well, I want to explain it to my audience real quick. Basically, Shazam, the Zachary Levi movie, that was owned by a different company that wasn't DC, and it was called Captain Marvel. DC bought that character. Marvel came in and said, "No, you cannot name a character Marvel. We're going to take that. We're going to name our character Captain Marvel." And then they ended up naming it Shazam.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then both movies came out around the same time.
Yeah. And then Marvel is character, like that's the character in the comic books that gives the original Captain Marvel their powers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Captain Marvel was like with a male character.
It was in the original comics. I mean, so was the original Captain Marvel.
Oh,
and Carol Danvers was the girlfriend of the original Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay.
And then she got promoted to Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
And then they killed off the original Captain Marvel, made her Captain Marvel, and then came up with a whole new Ms. Marvel.
You know
character.
this, Jackson.
I don't know how I know this. I just happen to know stuff. I've never read any of these comics. I just know sort of what happens in them.
And then I love when Nick Fury is coming up with a name for his superhero project, and he uses Carol's call sign in the Air
Yeah.
Force, Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me her whole relationship, his whole relationship with her. It connects to Iron Man when he tells Stark during the end credits, "Do you think you're the only one with powers,
Right.
Mr.
Mhm.
Stark? You'd entered a bigger world than you just don't know it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, this movie also has the very much welcome return of Agent Coulson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A DH Coulson too. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's nice to see Coulson again.
It is nice
I
to have
mean,
him
he
back.
had his own television show that ran for
Sure.
like 5 seasons, but
That's
that
true.
show had a pretty steep drop off in quality after the first
like
season or
first
2.
season. Yeah.
But
And it's not really considered canon anymore.
and then you get a little bit of a prologue to Endgame, because you get to see the other side of the end credit of Infinity War, where when you because you get to explain in this movie how that happens, where they're both given a pager, and if anything happens on Earth, Nick
That's
Fury
true.
can call Carol.
Yeah.
That is true. We didn't even talk about that in Infinity War. That
Yeah,
there's
so,
that that in game. Yeah.
We almost never talk about the post-credit scenes.
That's true.
I mean, this is important. This is
Because
important.
Ant-Man does the other thing, it
Right.
sets up Endgame with Scott being trapped in the quantum realm. So
Right.
Yeah, well, and then
Which wouldn't make any sense if you didn't stay through the credits. Like, how did he get in there? Like,
right.
I don't know.
But like I said, so they set up that whole kind of thing with the pager, and then you see the other side of it where she goes to Earth, and then she goes to the Avengers headquarters.
Yeah.
And
So
she-
so you get a
where's
nice
Nick
little
Fury?
Steve Rogers and Black Widow cameo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I saw
Little
this.
taste.
Yeah. Well, I saw this with the same friend that I went to go see Black Panther, Infinity War, and Ant-Man the Wasp.
Mhm.
And I'm like, at this point, when they said that end credit scene, I'm like, oh my god, one more month of Endgame. I was really excited for that. I thought that was really cool little thing to do at the end. And then you have a little funny bit with Goose the cat when he
I
throws
love
the
that. That's so
Tesseract.
cute.
Oh yeah, the Tesseract's back in this movie. I forgot to mention that. And then what's his face? Ronan is back because he's a Kree.
Yeah. And he's even
yeah.
more boring in this movie than he was
Yeah.
in Guardians.
Yeah. That I can attest to.
That's one, like, if you didn't know what was going on with Guardians, you would be like, who is that? What is he
Who
doing?
is this person? Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of there. Yeah, like I said, I feel like Lee Pace. I mean, I agree. He is not an interesting character on the page, but I think Lee Pace, like the way he plays it is very scenery chewing.
Yeah.
Poor Lee Pace.
Not to now, I will say it's not on the same level as Hugo Weaving as Red Skull, because he's just so great in that movie. But at least Lee Pace gives it somewhat of a boost, despite the boring.
Yeah. He gives us as much of a boost as he can.
We haven't even talked about Jude Law at all in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jude Law's okay in there.
I
don't know.
think
It's-
he's actually a very effective villain in this because he's so insidious.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will
Like-
say though, as soon as I saw Jude Law, I was like, oh, he's the bad guy.
Hmm.
In my mind, like I just like, oh no. Somewhere in the back of my head, it was like, oh no, he's the bad guy in this. And I don't know if it's from like watching many movies where Jude Law plays a very nice guy who ends up becoming like a terrible person.
Let's get to favorite part and least favorite part, and I'll start with you, Eric.
Favorite part, I'll say favorite part is I like the time jump in this. I like the 90s swing that we do, which is
You're
is
just
a
eating
nice-
all the member berries.
just eating them all because it's a nice change of pace, especially like after after Endgame, we did Ant-Man, which is like a palate cleanser. This was sort of like a new palate cleanser. It was like a nostalgia like shot in the
Yeah.
arm, which works for the most part. It gets a little cloying after a bit, but I enjoy that for the most part. Yeah,
Wait.
I would say the 90s aesthetic.
Okay. Well, like, what was your least favorite part?
I really don't like the backstory on like Nick Fury getting his eye scratched by Goose. Like I don't I don't know.
I like that. I
So,
think that's funny.
I don't know. It feels too like too tight. I don't know. Tying that knot like there, like I don't know. I always wanted it to be we never know how he lost his eye.
Yeah.
Well, he says in another movie, I think it's in Winter Soldier, where he says like, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, it is a nice payoff.
It's funny to think that he was talking about a little kitty cat that he just doted on for the whole movie.
I didn't think about that. It's funny. That's fucking hilarious.
You know what? I take it back.
Think about now, y'all.
I take back my least favorite part. I'm gonna say it is. What is my least favorite part? I'm gonna say my least favorite part is Jude Law, but not because he gives a bad performance, just because I can tell he's a villain from the top. And that has nothing to do with how the character is written or anything like that. It's just like my perception of Jude Law.
All right, sweet. What about you, Jackson? Favorite part and then least favorite part?
My favorite part is towards the end of the movie where she's in the final battle with is it Yanrog or Von? I can't remember. Jude Law.
Yeah, Jude Law.
And she like gets knocked down, and you see that sort of like quick montage of all the other times in her life that she's been knocked down. Like she's playing baseball, or she crashes the go-kart. She falls off the climbing rope at boot camp, and you just like see her in all those different ages, like stand up, and it's all juxtaposed together. It's just incredibly powerful, poignant filmmaking that it's not like a lot of the other sort of character climaxes in any of these movies, because they're not dealing with the same things that she's dealing with,
right?
Where she's having to come to realize who she is and who she's really been this whole time. I just really love it. It sort of makes me well up a little bit when I see that part.
Right. Least favorite part?
I don't think this movie is paced that well. There are parts where I'm just like, oh, come on, y'all.
That well?
I don't think it lead paces very well at all. But yeah, I don't know. There are parts of this movie. It's another movie. I'm just like, it's just too long. I mean, even at like 2 hours, almost even, it's like, you could have gone in there and tightened the screws a little bit. I say that about so many of these movies, but
yeah.
Well, it's
here too.
It really becomes. I mean, it really becomes that Marvel is really trying to build their bigger universe, and that if it was just Carol's story, then it would probably be like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. But because they're having to do all these like connections with like Rambo and all, like to connect to everything else, like it takes 2+ hours or more now. Yeah.
Rambo, Sylvester Stallone isn't in this movie.
Oh my god.
My favorite part is I just love how the story is just told so uniquely, like apart from any other superhero origin story. I'm gonna go with my least favorite part. Kind of curious to see what you guys think about this, but it's when Jude Law wanted to fight Canvers without powers, and then she shoots her with her laser blast. To me, it kind of contradicts what Maria was saying about Carol being the most powerful woman before powers. Like, come on, one of those bit of a scuffle, like fisticuffs.
Yeah, but she's defying him in that moment, because that's what he's trying to make her do to prove herself or whatever. He's going back into gaslighting mode.
Yeah,
like, you can't defeat me just on your own. It's like, but she is on her own. She can do that. And then she has one of the best lines in the movie where she stands over him. She's like, I have nothing to prove to you.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I
think it's a great character moment. And it's also sort of like the Indiana Jones with the guy with the sword. He just like I have a gun.
Maybe now that you
get out of here.
Maybe if he took a couple of swing like punches towards her, and then she just dodges all of them or just parries them or whatever, and then she's like, I got nothing to prove to you. Maybe.
Yeah, but I think that it's like she doesn't need to go through the motions with him. She's done this guy. This guy has done nothing but lie to her.
But it just felt like she
6
went for the
years.
easy way out. I just wanted a little bit more in that moment. I don't know. Just me.
Okay.
Okay, Jackson.
I was fine with it.
Jackson, what is your rating?
Okay. For filmmaking, I'll give it like a 3.5. I don't think it's like visually the most interesting of these movies. And like I said, I think the pacing is a little off, but it's effective. And the moments where it's very effective, like the montage that I brought up, it's incredibly strong. But yeah, overall, I'd say like a 3.5.
Yeah. Theme,
I'm gonna go with a 5. I think this movie is getting at some stuff that that you haven't seen necessarily in a Marvel movie. And like I said, maybe who cares? It's on the nose. I don't care. It's stuff that needs to be said in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't really even get into the whole thing about like propaganda and and like the lies that your government tells you about the people from this other nation or whatever. Like, you know, everybody's hating on the Skrulls, and the Skrulls, they're just like, no, we don't want this war. We just we just want our own home, and we want to be left alone.
I don't want y'all civil war.
So that's in this movie too. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5 on the theme.
Okay, so your overall score?
8.5.
8.5. All right, what about you, Eric? Is your filmmaking score?
Filmmaking score is probably around the same boat. I'm probably about a 3.5. It everything looks competently made. You know, the aging stuff looks pretty good. But there's nothing spectacular or super visually unique about anything that we see. So probably about 3.5 on that. I would say probably about a 4.5 as far as themes go, and touching along the same things that Jackson just talked about. It's exploring avenues that Marvel has long denied. And not from like people's demands, like people, like I'm sure there have been, we should have seen a Black Widow movie long before now. Like,
oh yeah,
there should have been a Black Widow movie long before we got this Captain Marvel movie. So it was like we needed it, and it's welcome. That's all I want to say. So 4.5.
All right. So your overall score would be
8.
9. Wait, 4.5 and
3.5. So 8.
Oh, 8. Yeah, I had 8. Yeah.
So the official for Sci-Fi and Beyond.
You didn't give your scores.
Oh,
what are you doing?
Okay, I'm tired. That's my excuse.
This has been a very long conversation.
Okay, my filmmaking score is 4.5, just because I think it was I liked how they kind of took like a different approach to this kind of story. Theme, kind of like what we always said, you know, about sexism, misogyny, and propaganda, all that stuff. Another 4.5, so that's gonna be a 9.
Oh, okay.
Right, so
what does that put us at?
So the official for Sci-Fi and Beyond score for Captain Marvel is 8.5.
So
which
all
is
you all you haters can just go shove it.
Yeah.
We
like this movie.
Yeah, I like this movie even more now that I gotta analyze it. So, but anyways, guys, I don't know when the next episode's gonna come out for MCU Lookback, because September and August are coming up, and that's when I start working on the October horror movie review series. So depending how far I get in that, we might get one in September. If we can't find time to do this, it'll probably be November when we do the last episode.
That's fair.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on like our personal lives and what we got going on. So
that's fine too.
So if you like this episode and you want to see more incredible content, make sure you smash that subscribe button and web swing on over to Facebook and Twitter @ at Horror Sci-Fi and Beyond. And also, don't forget to leave this episode an amazing comment and give it a Thanos-sized thumbs up. And before I go, Destiny, arise. And Excelsior! Enough said.